Hello everybody. Welcome. It's me. It's Andy, Decade Andy here. No Mikey this week. I don't have the image of our guest up yet, but we got a big swinging Dion to replace him for the week. Hello, Big D.
Hello, Andy. How are you?
Warm. The sun has decided to hit the side of my house, and it is heating me up and making me a sweaty boy, which I'm not happy with.
Yeah. See, it's that time of year in the UK where it's lounge shorts and not much else at this point.
It's weird because it's been unreasonably pleasant. Some people might say
yes.
like really sad and wet and rainy. I would say I really liked it. So, what do I know?
So the last week has been a nice balancing point, and then last year's just been a little bit, ooh.
Yeah. Previous years it's just been nightmarish heat. So I'm perfectly happy with just rain. Rain is good enough for Andy. I'm happy with that.
Yes. Rain's good.
Yeah, I'd say so. Well, how about you? Are you doing it well this evening in the U of the K's?
Yeah, I'm getting it. Had some health stuff on Friday. I've got back pain, which I know is aware of, which takes me out of action sometimes. But that's eased off, so I'll be back at work tomorrow. Be nice and relaxing, hopefully. Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry you're back at work tomorrow. That's never a fun thing, Oh, but that's good. Okay.
It's what it is.
Yeah. So we haven't actually started the show proper. I haven't played the sexy music yet. But if you wondered, chaps, ladies, and everyone else, we're going to be talking about toys, old school toys. We're going to be going through the years of G1. So I decided to grab a load of calendars. Sorry, catalogs, not calendars. I'm an idiot. So we got from 1983, 1980 something, 3. The first one.
Yeah.
The first batch.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, the first batch all the way up to Micromasters and Action Masters in the 90s. Well, the 90s.
Nice.
And if we go past that, I can quickly go and get images of the Motivators. But it seems like there wasn't a dedicated catalog for the Motivators and the Predators, not like there was previously. So that's why I don't have a proper image.
They really got rolled more into G2, to be fair, if I remember rightly. So
they're that kind of floaty in-betweeny stage.
Yeah, they were that in-between stage where we got them and the Americans didn't, and then suddenly it all went, let's try this again. Yeah,
pretty much. It went on the 1991 catalog, this website which has all the scans, and I've just thrown up the images online on the site at the moment, and the catalog is not really what you would think of as a catalog. It's just it's more like a catalog than what we would get. Our catalogs for the Transformers were just a 2-sided leaflet. This seems to be like a multi-paged little booklet that had Overlord in and all those guys, and some Micromasters and all. Not Micromasters, Action Masters. It doesn't look like it has the Turbo Masters in it though.
No,
it doesn't have the Turbo Masters in. Oddly enough, 91 it just has Overlord and the Motivators. Those are the 2 new figures. The rest of them are just ones you've seen before. But anyway,
weird.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. We'll see how it goes. We'll roll that boat and that ball, I suppose, and we'll see how it goes. I will play the intro music. We'll start off the podcast official, and you can come on a journey with me, Big D.
All right? My!
Oh yes. All right, I'll roll that music. And it's not playing. I'll try it again. No.
Would it be a podcast without some technical difficulties for Moonbase?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Moonbase 2 podcast. My name is Andy, Decade Andy, and I'm joined not by Mikey this week, because he is away, falling off the stage, apparently, at a dinosaur convention, also known as TF Nation. I'm joined by Big Swingin' D, the man from the Fluff and Hammer area of the internet, and other places, too. Known far and wide for his veiny, girthy action. Hello, Big D.
Evening, bud. How you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. As we said, pre-show, just warm. Warm and sad. Yes. I wasn't able to go to TF Nation. Are you going to be going to TF Nation? I think you mentioned online. I think this year that you plan to. Have you been to one before?
I haven't. Funny enough,
Oh.
I'm in a weird place with Transformers fandom. I've spoken to Adam Grufflook about this before, where I've been in it since literally the start of G1. This picture of the catalogs give me big nostalgia vibes right now. But when the UK, I was never really connected to the UK fandom as a whole until maybe 12 years ago, when someone I worked with introduced me to the concept of a broader fandom online. I just had never really connected. I was still collecting, but I just didn't
like
really...
you hadn't heard of it or something like that?
I was kind of aware tangentially of things like BotCon and the Transformers Collectors Club, but I didn't realize how big it was still in the UK. I thought I was just being a nerd on my own collecting Transformers still.
Wow.
And so I've been to a rollout roll call many years ago now, which was quite fun, actually, to be fair. But TF Nation's kind of it's one of my bucket list cons I'd like to go to. Ironically, that and UK Games Expo, which are both in the same hotel within about 2 months of each other.
It's UK Games Expo. That's board gaming, isn't it? I think I was trying to persuade Gruff to go to that this year.
Board games, tabletop, everything.
Yeah,
and it looks like that actually is quite good for the whole family. Because normally I go to Salute in London, which is much more war game focused.
Okay. That has a lot more strippers at it and a lot more nudity, I assume, versus the Birmingham one. Is that right?
Well, it's in VXL London, so you can never tell what's going on there.
Oh, that's true. Grotty London.
I've been around that same centre to one of the London Film Comic Cons, and man, things you see there.
I bet. I mean, it's London.
Yeah.
I'm glad I've never gone to like MCM. Is that the anime one, the big one that I have down in London?
MCM is one of the big ones. Yeah, they're kind of like the main one who does most of the big UK cons nowadays.
That's right. Yeah, at one point I was like, maybe I should go to one of them. Obviously, I can't do it now. But at one point I was like, maybe I should go to one, and then I thought, oh, it's London though. I don't know.
Well, I mean, they have them. They do them across the country under the MCM blanket. I think Manchester's their next biggest one. They do.
Okay.
And I'll be honest, just if you go just for the day, I mean, that's what I've normally done in the past. I used to, back when I worked for Borders, would actually load up a few of us in one of my manager's SUV and hit a con on a Saturday or a Sunday. We did, because we used to go to Collectomania, Milton Keynes, a couple of times. That was all right. We did some of the London ones back when they were in the Earl's Court Arena, and even Cardiff Comic-Con down in Cardiff.
You might be surprised then by TF Nation, since it's from what I hear from people who've gone to other conventions and not just to TF Nation, it's a lot more communal. So you can't you can just go for one day, but you shouldn't. You should be there for at least 2 days minimum.
Well, I mean, that's what I'd like to do. I'd like to do it as a proper.
Yeah.
It sounds silly to say holiday, but I'd like to actually make an event of it.
Yeah, you should.
You know what 100%. I mean? And actually take the time. I'm the first to admit, I'm crap with people a lot of time. I struggle really hard in social environments, but I'd like to make the effort.
There are a lot of people there who do suffer with, social anxiety, is just not getting on with people generally, etc., etc. But obviously at a Transformers convention like TF Nation and TFCon and etc., you already have like a talking point. You already know the person there probably likes Transformers, otherwise why they're there, You can also see
Mike. Hate visiting.
Well, that's potentially, I suppose. I mean, you can.
Over there for the Gundam Alley.
I don't know if the Gundam Alley was there this year, though. I'm pretty sure the Gundam Cellar would have been there, but I don't know about the alley. I think that was a 1 year affair.
Yeah, I think Gundam Mad was there because they put a poster up.
Well, Mikey be fucking pissed if he's not, because Mikey's hoping to get some Gundam stuff. I don't know what he's got. I've sent him like 2 messages just before the show started, so I don't know really what he's been up to. He just said he fell off the stage and he had a good time, and I was like, oh, that's good.
Fair enough.
I asked if he hurt himself, and he didn't say yes. So I was a little bit sad,
Maybe it was a drug stalking.
No, maybe. If if Mikey sent a message saying, no, I broke my leg, I'd be like, oh, I'm sad I missed it. Oh, that would have been a good time to see Mikey break his leg. What a fool. No, yeah. I would definitely recommend going. You'll see people there you might not know, or you might kind of know. I know Gruff's planning to go 1 year. He's going to bring his spawn with him, so you could go and see young Gruff as well. No, I mean Gruff, and I guess also young Gruff. The smaller Gruff.
Yeah, he's like he keeps cutting. I sent them both. I had a spare sound stuff. I had a spare leader Galvatron, so I bought the legacy version with the proper paint and shoulders. But I'd already had the Kingdom version I got earlier in the year, so I just thought, well, who could do with that? And Gruff mentioned that he and Jojo were getting his Transformers again. I was like, right, box. and he keeps sending me pictures of Jojo sleeping with him.
Well, that's good.
It's oddly cute.
I'm not sure.
You just imagine Galvatron going, "Unhand me, child."
I'm not one who ever wanted to sleep with my Transformers because I had the realization of as a child that they were not like soft and cuddly. They were kind of sharp and pointy.
Yes, all that die-cast back in the day.
Yeah, and let's be honest. We'll talk about this when we get into the topic at hand. They weren't the most like sturdy of things. Not all of them, anyway.
No, I have some tales on that score as well.
Yeah, I'm sure we can get to it. But yeah, you'll be able to go and see George. You can see delicious George in person.
That would be cool as well, because we chat in some of the things, and he seems like a lovely bloke.
Yeah, he's very enigmatic, though, as is his name. You'll see him for a few seconds, and he'll be whisked away into the void. I think he had a good time, too. I don't know. But yeah, should we talk about 1983-4, the beginning, the start of Generation 1, when basically Hasbro took a load of... I don't need to go over, where did Generation 1 come from? Everybody knows.
We all know where they came from.
Yeah, Micron, Diaclone, all that jazz. We're just going to talk about the toys, which ones we had, and what they were like. Because is it fair to just say from this lineup straight away that Soundwave was easily the best? Not even slightly. Just massively, just the best.
I mean, he had some of the best posability, if nothing else, which is not saying much for this period.
Well, yeah, he did have full shoulders, elbows at 90. His legs did go forward. He didn't really have... He had backwards knee bends. That counts.
That's a hell of a novelty for this period.
Yeah. He's... him and Optimus Prime, I'd say, have the best. Prime... because Soundwave could, like, rotate
Prime was
his...
the best playset. Yeah. Soundwave was the best overall package.
Yeah. Because I think Soundwave had the best play feature as well, because he came with Buzzsaw, which is weird since Buzzsaw wasn't his buddy in the show. Really, it was the other two, but you know, which one? Where do you want to start off? Should we keep talking about Soundwave? I suppose we could, since we're already here. Soundwave's a really good toy, right? Like in terms of like he said, what he does for the time period he came out in, and how successfully he becomes a robot and a cassette deck. I think, the guys at the Micron range just knocked it out of the park. It's just a solid thing all around. And there's a reason why it keeps being reissued over and over again.
And there's a reason why Hashtag and all the third-party companies keep trying to get him just right.
Yeah.
And it's actually been fascinating to see them, how they've gone, because, I didn't have this Soundwave, any version of him. And I've not even had the Masterpiece version. But I've got most of ever. I've kept meaning to. I just never got around to it.
There've been so many reissues. How have you never got one? Oh my god!
Well, I got MP01 Convoy, and that's the only MP figure I've ever had. The original Masterpiece Prime.
Oh, yeah.
Go figure. Just wasn't how my collection was going.
No, I can understand that. That's you saved a lot of money.
Oh, you're telling me, but. I've spent it all on Chug instead. But seeing how they've taken the core of Soundwave, which is it's a pretty simple design at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Him and Blaster, they're basically blocks that unfold into lanky blocks.
Oh, are you saying they're rock lords? Are you just saying that Soundwave's a rock lord? Because that's what rock lords are.
I said he's a block, not a rock, a block that unfolds into a lanky block. But I mean, there's a couple of things there. One, the fact that they based the Decepticon symbol on his head design, brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, that immediately makes him distinctive. You can't go wrong with his voice from the cartoon. Frank Welker, of course, nailing that voice with some funky distortion. And the fact he spoke so differently. Also, the fact he's got that play feature where his guns become his batteries. You got the tapes, and the fact that they did have so many tapes at the end by the time they finished.
Mm.
And I know most kids today look at it and say, "What the fuck's a tape player?" But for the time, that was a really funky design. You know?
I mean, all you do is if they ever say what's a tape deck, you say it's basically a very old, very very old portable switch. It's the same concept. It's a portable thing that you take around that has media on it. That's the same idea. It's just obviously it's a lot more antiquated, massively antiquated.
I'm waiting for my niece and nephew to get to that point, so I can. So when they ask me how much music it could hold, I could say, "Ooh, 12 songs," and to see their faces when I go, "Is that it?"
Could you do long and short play on a cassette? I can't remember. I know you could on like TV like tapes.
Well, you could do A and B sides.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
I don't think the ones at this time could do long play and short play.
Was that more of a 90s thing?
I think it was a feature eventually, but it wasn't a common one towards the end because CDs I think were becoming more popular. So
I upgraded from a cassette player to I think a CD player and then to a mini disc player, which shockingly didn't last very long.
I still have the mini disc player. Well, it's actually a mini disc recorder that I got from when I went to university as part of my learning disability grant. They insisted I get a mini disc recorder so I could record my classes, and the damn thing never worked.
Oh, see, my mini discs worked. It's just there was nothing we had for it. The best that we could do was we transferred a load of cassettes of the Harry Potter books at the time onto mini disc, and then it's like,
nice.
Because I enjoyed listening. It was Stephen Fry who read them, so it's just like, what a soothing voice, lovely.
Well, I love the concept of mini discs. They're such a durable medium, but it just never gained real traction.
Well,
which is
that versus a physical medium versus MP3.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's always going to lose.
It could. Yeah, there's no way you could compete. But mini discs, man, like you said, you could fling those things across the room, and I never did, but you could, and they'd be fine. It was like a floppy disk, except it was hard and small,
and not like the 3.5-inch floppies either. This was proper. Punch it and it wouldn't. Don't ask how I know this. Punch it, nothing happening.
No, I'm trying to remember how they were probably like.
Did I bash one of a Sword Hill at one time? I might have done.
As you do.
I think we did have a party where I was very, very drunk.
And you took it out on your MIDI disc player, you monster.
No, not on the player. There was a disc, and someone asked me we wanted to test how durable it was.
Oh my god!
I had a sword handy.
XL Hedge in chat says, "I remember, if I remember correctly, it depended on the length of the tape inside the cassette." I guess that makes sense for how many songs you could get on it, and I wonder if that accounts for how long and short play worked on it as well. Maybe it did. Maybe
Probably.
It didn't. But yeah, Soundwave, I'd say very easily a top tier of the range. How about we talk about the mini bots? Because I had Bumblebee, and out of the mini bots range, that was about it. Did you have any of these guys? I mean, at the time, I've had all of them now at this point.
From this year, I've had Bumblebee. He was one of my first Transformers. I think I had Cliffjumper, and I know I had Gears. Gears was a car boot sale find many years later. Back when I was still doing G1, sort of like in the late 80s, early 90s. But Bumblebee, I think Bumblebee I had pretty much from the start almost. Certainly to the extent that his rubber tires came off very quickly.
Oh no, really? Oh,
Yeah,
mine were all right. I guess you were just violent with yours. Hateful.
I did roll him around like I took him everywhere. He was look at them. They're so dinky and playable. You just want to fiddle with them.
Yeah, I think
Even
these.
now, I want to reach through and.
I think I mean, some of them are not good. Like Braun's a mess.
Yeah, but that's always been a problem for Braun. Let's be honest.
I think he's the weakest out of the 6 of them.
Yeah.
But I think when I look at these, I see it's like the prototype for what the Micromasters would become, except they're bigger. They're fairly simplistic. They don't do too much transformation, but they're okay robot modes for the most part. And the big selling point is the car modes are all of the car modes for all of these 6 are just good. They're all nice.
They're adorable.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
Maybe a criticism could be that Windcharger and Cliffjumper, one of them maybe should have been a different color, just to make the other one a bit more distinct.
I mean, Windcharger might have the nicest vehicle mode of all 6. Let's be honest.
Just like a Micro Machine from the video games. I could see that.
Whereas Cliff suffers from the fact that he is just a squished Porsche.
yeah, he's not the sexiest car mode, that's for sure.
No, but no, I'm trying to think. Imagine what it'd be like if Cliff or Windcharger had been a different color, especially Cliffjumper, because red's kind of his thing. He's the red dude.
Yeah,
he's the red Bumblebee.
I'm thinking you could probably change, like, from the point of like 2023 old people looking back at Transformers and the significance of Cliffjumper versus the significance of Windcharger. I think you could probably change Windcharger's colors out of the two of them. If you're gonna if you just look back of what impact they have, I think you could have changed Windcharger's colors and it wouldn't have been too bad.
Have they ever done a black Windcharger?
Specifically Windcharger?
Well, that mold in black with red windows.
I don't know. They haven't done that. I think that would work though.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
That'd be.
Yeah. And it would be just inverting the colors easy enough.
Yeah.
Makes it a bit more distinct. Maybe they're wanting to keep the black windows for all of them because you all have that kind of thing in common.
That's true.
I'm not sure if that was a design thing that they wanted to have as a thing that ran through them all, but it seems to be.
And it was all paint as well, which we forget is today's like a bit of a novelty. But
was it paint?
Yeah, they had the stick. The symbol was a sticker.
Yes,
but if I remember rightly, almost everything else on these guys was paint.
I assumed that the black was just like just black plastic underneath, and the red went over the top as like another layer, like how they did old cars, because you'd have like the chassis which was all black, and then you put the car bit on top. I don't know my cars, but you know what I mean.
The thing is, black's always a very difficult color to paint over the top of, especially at this stage. It's much easier to put black over another color.
Well, that's why I'm assuming it was 2 separate pieces of plastic.
I'm trying to remember now, because I'm sure that like 90% of those figures were painted detail.
I can see that. I think that obviously their faces with silver, they're definitely paint, and Bumblebee in his head is probably paint as well. I don't know. Actually, Bumblebee's head might be plastic, yellow plastic molded on, glued onto the chrome.
I'm intrigued now.
Yeah, because I don't remember seeing a lot of like paint off of these guys and the window screens not being perfectly black. Chat, does anyone remember any mini bots that had like dulled windows of paint chippings on their windows? Because I'm pretty sure I don't.
Please help us. We're old and our memories are going.
Yeah, and I don't have Bumblebee on hand. All of my G1s are upstairs.
Sadly, I have no more no G1 figures left. I made a foolish mistake in the early 2000s.
Oh no. Was it for money reasons, or are we just done with them?
It was money reasons. Let's just say there was a rather large Transformers and a rather large G.I. Joe collection that both got sold for not very much.
Oh no.
Yes.
Which G.I. Joes?
Most of them.
Because I've got like GI Joes, but they're not like they're like Valor versus Venom and stuff like that. The ones that aren't worth anything.
I was collecting during the Real American Hero days.
Oh, the old school ones. Okay.
And right back to when it was Action Force.
Oh yes.
In fact, back when it was Battle Action Force in the UK comic.
Battle Action Force.
Yeah, there were some dark strips in that series, man.
Oh, I bet.
The GI Joe, well, the Action Force stuff especially was pretty dark for a 5-year-old to go, ooh. But but no, I was collecting both lines. I mean, I had the Cobra Hydrofoil, the Tomahawk, and the Dragonfly helicopters, loads for vehicles.
Damn, son.
I had boxes full of 3.5-inch action figures.
You didn't have the flag, did you?
I didn't have the flag.
Okay, well, that's something.
It's weird. I didn't have many vehicles from first couple of years. I had the Ore Striker, the 4-wheel drive buggy, and then I picked up other ones over the years. It's a weird thing because my collecting history is a little odd because 89 to 92, my family moved to Hong Kong because my dad was in the RAF.
Mm.
And so a lot of stuff that hit Europe from all these lines, I didn't see because I was in Hong Kong. But being out there meant I got a lot of Japanese exclusive material, stuff that was on its way to the States, and stuff that was still in stock from like years ago. So I picked up the Hydrofoil at a street market, new in the box. And this was in like 91, I think. So it was like 6-7 years after it had been released.
Yeah, back then you could like find, I guess, really good, like you wouldn't have known at the time, but you could find really good deals on toys that would become classics as well.
Yeah, I mean, the Dragonfly helicopter, I had my version, because I had the Tiger Force version later, but the original version I had was actually from the Japanese line. Still G.I. Joe, but just came in a Japanese box.
Yeah.
Everything else exactly the same. But yeah, that was a very weird time because like I had all the Decepticon Pretenders, the original 6.
Okay, I was gonna say, like, are we talking like Bugley, Iguanus?
Yeah, Bugley, Iguanus.
Oh, you had them, damn. Finback?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, damn.
I had all 6 of them. None of the Autobots, are just all 6 Decepticon Pretenders.
Well, they're the ones you want. The Autobot ones are kind of you know.
Yeah, but it was very. I almost had a chance to buy a Star Convoy, and I didn't. I really regret that now.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, and the last few days we were there, we were popping around some of the local shops, just trying to spend our last few Hong Kong dollars because you couldn't exchange them for nothing back then.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And I found a Grand Maximus.
Oh my god!
Which again, I had no clue what it was. I just thought, it's Fort Max. He's got a Pretender shell. That's cool. And I just couldn't afford it. And to say nothing of the luggage space it would have taken up. But
oh yeah. I suppose like you really couldn't persuade your parents. Like, let me take this
as a carry-on. Big ass.
Especially for back then.
Yeah, but it also meant that I missed a lot of G2 stuff, or the crossover between G1 and G2. So
yeah, I mean, you would have done because like the only way you could have technically got the Turbo Masters because Japan did release them as like 2-packs, but I don't know what time period they released them there compared to when they were released in the UK and stuff. But obviously, I know that they came in the 90s at some point.
I was watching dubbed episodes of, well, not even dubbed. I had no clue what was going on because it was not subtitled or in an English dub. But I was watching Super God Master Force and Victory episodes whenever they came on TV. So
yeah, I imagine like if you're a kid and you're watching those, it could be a bit confusing with subtitles or without. No dub. Makes sense. XLH says, "Sorry, I grew up with Master. In the Master era of G1, Power Master, Target, Head, Micro. I didn't even have G1 Optimus Prime till G2 release." Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
See,
I didn't have G1 Optimus Prime. I've never had G1 Optimus Prime.
I got G1 Optimus Prime mainly because the UK got the gold reissues. I think they were called when they called
the classics.
Yeah, well, if that's what it was called in the 90s, yeah, I had whatever that era was called.
Yeah, they tied it into the comic strip.
Did they?
if I
Oh,
remember
okay.
rightly. Yeah, the Earth Force comics. Everything in the Earth Force comic strip was released as part of the classics gold box lineup.
See, it was really annoying though, because most of the time, whenever I went to Center Parcs, a like holiday resort in the UK, I don't know why. Every time I went, the Rebirth was on 1, 2, and 3. And I loved Rebirth Part 1, 2, and 3 because I got to see these headmasters, and I thought headmasters, target masters was the coolest shit. And I couldn't find the toys anywhere. I was like, every time I was like, man, I'd really like these toys.
Yeah.
Obviously, just didn't exist. I was like, but I could get Optimus Prime. Why can't I get the Snaptrap?
I had the tape of that bizarrely had Rebirth 1, 2, and 3, and then had Return of Optimus Prime from the previous season.
That's weird.
So if you wanted to watch an order, you had to fast forward the tape and then watch Return of Optimus Prime.
That is a bizarre
and then go
way.
back.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
It made no sense, but it was marketed as the Headmasters and Return of Optimus Prime on the video packaging. So
I mean, they're not wrong that those episodes all are continuations of each other. It's just
the wrong order.
Yeah, just the wrong order.
that kind of sums up trying to watch G1 cartoons in the UK full stop, really.
Oh, well, I had Sky, so it wasn't too bad for the most part.
You lucky swine.
Yeah, we had the Fun Factory and then DJ Cat. That's how I saw that stuff.
Nice.
I love DJ Cat. He was a fucking rocking cat. Everybody loved him. Giant puppet, as was the way. But we all, we may as well talk about the Autobots lineup. I had out of these guys, I had Sideswipe originally, I had Wheeljack originally, and I had Ironhide originally. Now, there are, I think you could say the least accurate out of all of them is easily Ironhide and Ratchet.
Absolutely. But you have to admire how they tried with the faces on the interior.
I'm pretty sure those were just passovers from the Diaclone stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, was there? Oh, did the Diaclones have the faces or not?
I don't think they did.
I think
it was just no.
Huh.
They were literally drones, if I remember rightly.
Oh, in Diaclone, you mean? Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
As a toy, though, I still, even though I didn't like the fact that Ironhide didn't look like Ironhide, apart from his vehicle mode, which was pretty accurate, I enjoyed the way that the cab, the back part of him transformed into that base. There was something I found really
there was a lot of play value.
It was mainly the unfolding of the tank treads, the two in the back and the one big one in the front. Something about that sequence I found a really satisfying process as a child.
Absolutely.
I like the hand feel. Obviously, Ironhide himself is spindly as shit. He was not desperately fun to play with.
Because I had Jazz. Funny enough, Jazz was the only one of these cars I had from the start.
What did you think of him when you first got him? Well, obviously not when you. What are your memories of Jazz? I suppose probably better to ask.
Well, some disappointment in the fact that he had no legs, no leg articulation whatsoever. But I loved how his rocket launcher plugged into his back. I loved how accurate his gun was. The only issue I had with him was that, well, it was two things. One, the rubber tires would pop off if you tried too hard to move his shoulders for transformation.
Okay.
And the connection of and it's affected almost every Jazz figure they've made ever. The clear plastic for the windscreen and roof of the car. The way that connects to the back of the head for the transformation, that snapped in like 2 weeks.
Right.
That always had to. That was a removable piece after a while. It was detachable. it was an option.
I remember a friend had Jazz. I didn't have it. Theirs didn't snap or anything. But I remember whenever they transformed it, for some reason the top of the car and the back of the roof, where the second window is, how they were two separate pieces, they never seemed to go together smoothly.
No,
and over time
they never did.
Yeah.
I think it was just a flaw of Jazz and the Datsun brothers, to be honest. But
probably.
It just would never sit level.
Well, there was no way for them to clip in or peg in or anything, because that was kind of antithetical to the design at the time. But it was always an issue with theirs at the very least. They didn't break theirs though. Lovely
car mode though.
Oh yeah,
Beautiful car mode.
I don't think any of them have a bad car mode.
No.
And I think most of them are fairly successful with their robot
Yeah.
modes, though they are very.
To varying degrees.
Yeah, this is in the era where a lot of these guys, you pick them up and you shake them, and they're liable to fly apart or feel like they're going to fly apart. They're very loosey goosey, I'd say, in a lot of ways.
But then they also had enough diecast to give you a wonderful heft you could twat someone with it.
They were really heavy. Yeah, that's true. Ones I haven't played with specifically are Sunstreaker, mainly because when I came back into Transformers was around Armada time period, and just around that time period, the Japanese book series started up. So a lot of those figures got redone in the book series. Not all of them. Sunstreaker, for some reason, didn't get redone. And Sunstreaker, subsequently is one of those much rarer figures.
Yeah. I think I read a story about why that was at one point. I can't remember where. I might be imagining that, but I'm sure I read there was a reason why Sunstreaker never got a reissue in that line.
Probably licensing, I would imagine.
Yeah.
It might not be, but usually when you think of Transformers not being able to do a thing, it comes down to licensing, or we've lost the mold, which is probably an excuse for we don't want to do it again, or we've lost the license, I suppose.
Yeah. I did pick up Wheeljack and Ironhide in the gold box line, though.
All right, yeah.
They're the only other two cars I had from the Autobot cars in general.
I still have my original Wheeljack, but he has none of his accessories.
That does not surprise me.
Yeah, I don't know why I pulled off his spoiler. I don't know why I did, but either I pulled off his spoiler or I just never put it on. I don't know which. And I don't know about yours, but the missile launchers on his shoulders, I know I didn't lose them, but the clips for them are broken.
Yes, one of mine, the clips did break on.
Yeah.
Not the other one, but before I sold, he was one of the ones I ended up, that was in the lot I sold.
I think
one of the launchers was broken.
I think that's definitely one of the issues you could say with this era of the Autobots. All of them have some sort of, I mean, they all have a lot of accessories which can't really go anywhere, and you have to just hold on to them and hope and pray for the best. The best one, obviously, is Ironhide. Ironhide's the one that basically has all of his accessories on him at all times. Everybody else is
and somewhere you could store his spare missiles, because all the other guys had like at least 3 missiles they came packaged with on their sprues.
Yeah, different shaped ones, right?
Some of
them did. I think, yeah.
I think there was a sprue for each type of launcher.
Probably. That sounds about right.
I think I'm getting that right.
It's not. I'll go with it. It sounds right. I'm happy with that.
Sounds plausible.
Yeah. Are there ones that you've never played with then out of this set? Because I do have a Mirage. I just haven't played with them. I do have a Prowl. I've just never played with them because I think I've got the Trailbreaker as well, but I've just kept them in the boxes. So I've never really opened them and had a fiddle. For the most part, I've tried over 50%, I suppose.
You know what generally hurts to admit at this point?
What's that?
Apart from the 3 I owned, I've not played with any of these cars.
Oh, okay.
Which I'm actually surprised to realise, to be fair. I now have multiple updated versions of all of the characters on this screen in this image, because I've been collecting Chug since they launched the line, effectively. So some of these characters I can happily say, I have this many chassis, this many Prowls, and oh look, it's another Ironhide in the box. But no, it's weird to realise that I don't think any of my friends even had some of these, because it was a very weird time. It was a very weird time when I started, because it was kind of, He-Man was still quite big.
Yeah. It would have been 83, so that makes sense. Yeah. That would have been the toy line at the time.
And Transformers kind of snuck in, so to speak. And I actually can't remember if I had many friends who even played with Transformers.
Wow. Bad friends.
I was also a very solitary individual.
Well, here's the question. Are you still friends with them? I'm going to take that. No.
I don't.
Do you know why? Do you know why you're not friends with them anymore? Because they never played with Transformers. I think that shows you what happens if you're not a real friend if you don't have Transformers.
That's fair grounds.
Yeah. Well, I'll say there. Optimus Prime, the Commander.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, this is the one that I am like. G1 Optimus Prime. I like G1 Optimus Prime. I also have this bad relationship with G1 Optimus Prime at this time, which I'm sure everybody knows. I'm fucking sick of him. He can go and piss off a cliff at this point in time because he's just been like, this design's overdone at this point. But I remember having a lot of fun with this Optimus Prime. I think, again, because he has decent articulation. I didn't give a shit about his trailer. I never opened it up to the base mode. I didn't give a fuck about roller. Whenever I was playing with Optimus Prime, I wouldn't pick up and throw his trailer over across the other side of the room, but I would definitely push it off to the side and pretend it didn't exist.
You weren't rushing to make use of it either.
Yeah, oddly enough, I didn't know that I was doing what the show always did. I was sending it off to the subdimension that didn't exist.
Well, funny enough, my Earthrise Prime, who I have in my hand right now, his trailer is currently being used as a stand for about 5 other Transformers because I've got nowhere to be otherwise.
No, I mean, the trailer's shit. The trailer's, like, I don't know if this is controversial. The trailer's always been shit. The best trailer for an Optimus Prime is Power Master Optimus Prime because it does something physical. It actually interacts with the toy. It does something.
Although I would say, what was it? Fans Project's Classics Prime trailer? One that goes with Classics Optimus Prime?
Oh, to make City Commander.
No. This is actually a separate. I can't remember. Was it Fans Project? It was one of the early third-party upgrades.
Oh, Perfect Effect. Is that the one where they had the quote-unquote mirror coating, where you pulled the sides down and there were just like reflective mirrors on the side, so it would
this
disappear.
Is one. It basically does what the classic trailer does: opens up and folds out. Has a load of sprues with extra weapons for all the classics figures at the time on the Autobot side. So a sword for Grimlock, blaster for Bumblebee, guns for almost everyone else. And the box has a space at the front with a perforated piece of cardboard you can pull off. But you can put it all back in the box with Classics Prime at the front, mirroring the classic box art.
I don't remember that one offhand.
I can't remember who that was. The thing is, again,
throw it down.
Again, I have it. I just can't get to the damn thing.
It's somewhere hidden.
Well, no, it's not hidden. I know where it is.
It's just buried?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
It's about 2 feet to my right.
XL Hedge appears. Hello. Sorry, not XL Hedge. Orange. Welcome, Orange. XL Hedge says, I want G2 Optimus Prime reissue. Do it, Hasbro, you cowards. We're probably not going to get to G2 Optimus Prime, but G2 Optimus Prime is a very good Optimus Prime. Are we talking
the repaint of this Prime as Generation 2, or are we talking Laser Optimus Prime? Because that's 2 very different things to consider.
I think generally when people say G2 Optimus Prime, generally they mean the laser one. I don't think a lot of people mean the. You mean the one where you hit the
black and the edgy Prime. Was that not a black repaint of the cab?
No, I don't know the one you're talking about. I thought you meant the white Optimus Prime who had the little squishy, like you hit the thing and it would push the air off a missile and a little missile would fly off.
No, I mean the initial G2. I think it was the initial G2 Optimus Prime. That was basically a repaint of this version with a black trailer. That was it. And
and it had a sound box. Yes, now I know.
It had Optimus Prime emblazoned on the side of the trailer.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about. I think generally, actually, I think XL Hedge. Which one do you mean? Do you mean the black trailered G1 Optimus Prime, or do you mean Laser Optimus Prime? Because when when people say G2 Optimus Prime, I do think laser. Because why would you say G2 Optimus Prime and have the G1 Optimus Prime? Oh, XL Hedge said black trailer with sounds with the sound box. I'm just a fucking idiot then. I'll go suck myself off. Okay, fair enough.
I mean, it says a lot that there were 3 Generation 2 Optimus Primes effectively.
Yeah, there were.
That says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah. There were 2 Generation 2 Megatrons, if that helps. Because there's the one with a little fist bumpy action plunger thing, which was still a tank. But
and the tank with the worst camouflage pattern known to man.
Best camouflage. You misspoke. It's fine though. It's all right. It's okay to.
Well, I mean, he fits in with the Cobras of that era.
Yeah. You're not saying anything incorrect.
With weird mutant patrol dudes.
Yeah, I had the Mega Viper. I loved the Mega Viper. I had the Eco Force, where you got Play-Doh and you made Play-Doh armor for them.
That was such a crazy concept. I loved that.
It was fun and very bright. I liked it.
Yep. Yes, it was.
Yes. And they've never redone any one
late stage G.I. Joe was absolutely bonkers. Because did you ever see the DEA bunch and
the DEA?
Yeah, literally they had a drug enforcement agency G.I. Joe team. That was Cutter, Mutt. They had a federal agent, the only new character for Joe's on that team. And the Cobras was literally a drug kingpin.
Oh, I think I know the drug kingpin, but I can't remember.
It was called Headman or some Headman. I think it was.
No, I think it was even more on the nose than that.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
I remember the comics that he was in, and it was just the most batshit thing imaginable. It was great.
I'm still annoyed HasLab has not done a Mega Viper as a figure to get. Maybe it's not popular enough to justify, but that's the place you do a Mega Viper. A Classics Mega Viper from the Declassified line, and you make it really big.
Nice.
So it's like most of the figures are like 6 inches. You make it like 8.
Make it a big hulking thing.
Yeah, huge with big old posable tentacles like it had, and the stupid gun somehow. You could have it with this big opening mouth, and it had like a smell. You could spray down with a smell effect still. Oh,
that was the era, wasn't it?
Yeah, every toy had to smell. Because lads. Optimus Prime. The only thing I was never a big fan with the original G1 Optimus Prime, there were 2 things I didn't like about it. One, he couldn't hold his gun correctly. You can see in the image he's holding it crooked. Because he had a peg, for those not aware, he had a peg in the middle of the gun, and the gun handle, which he couldn't use, was at the back of the gun, so he always had to have it at this stupid wonky angle.
Well designed there.
Yeah, and the only other thing that I wasn't a big fan of was his fists were removable. Well, they had to be removable.
That was unavoidable, unfortunately.
I don't know about you, but the way I tried to get around it, because I think at the end of the day I failed because I was a child and I was stupid, but the way I tried to get around it was because you could flip down like the front of the cab where you'd put the Micron people, where I just put the fists in the front of his cab.
Yeah, when I had Ultra Magnus, that's what I did. I just threw the fists in the front of the cab.
It was the best option. Because why don't you put them in the trailer? Well, if you're looking at the images, they have 2 bloody giant holes where the fist could come flying out of.
Yes,
if you weren't careful. Because I don't know about you, but because I had More Than Meteor Part 1, 2, and 3 recorded on VHS. Sometimes I would go Prime and roll him down like my bed. So
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Well, you had to. It was great. It's a good scene.
Yeah.
It's a fun. Maybe it's not a good scene, but it was fun. I liked it. Is Megatron? I think Mikey mentioned this on the podcast. Is Megatron one of the messiest of the first season of Transformer toys?
I think it's safe to say so. Yeah. I mean, if you look at that toy, I mean, I love the Man from U.N.C.L.E. as much as the Next Man, but hot damn. That's a mess.
I still say it's a good attempt. It doesn't really work. It's not. I think the worst thing about this figure, and I got it again in the book series, so I never had it as a kid. I don't think it felt, when I've played with it more recently, or looked like a very playable toy, because he's got short stubby arms. His legs are very thin. He's got obviously his tumbly wumblies coming out like he's pregnant, or he's ready to just eat his dinner off of his lap. It doesn't look like a toy that you could do a lot with compared to the other ones. Like they had missiles and stuff like that. This seems a lot more static.
I think it highlights the weaknesses of what Hasbro did, bringing across some of the Microman line.
Yeah,
because I mean, this wasn't the only gun in that line. I think there were at least another 4 or 5.
Well, Browning existed at this point, didn't he? Yeah. And I think you could argue Browning. I've never had Browning, but that looks like a more solid weapon, like in terms of like going from gun to robot, because he doesn't have like the protruding stomach, and I don't think his legs are as thin. I can't remember.
I get the feeling that this one, because it is the licensed Man from Uncle gun that they did, and it had all the accessories to turn the Walther into the funky pistol rifle that they used in the show.
Mm.
And those accessories gave it a lot more play factor, so you could do stuff with. And I think it was all the others gun figures from this line. Well, some of them may have made better figures, but they didn't really have the same play factor in both modes. I do think, though, there's got to be an awful lot of credit goes to the writers for taking Megatron, who outside of Ironhide and Ratchet looks the least like any version of the character ever committed to print, and making gold out of it. Because you look at it and just think, how do you go from that to the Megatron we all know from the different iterations of him?
Wasn't it Nelson Shin that did the designs of them? I guess he looked at the Megatron design and saw like the good qualities and just went, what if he like did some sit-ups or just pushed his tummy in? Because I think really
just change
that's
the
all
dimensions
they've done.
somewhat.
Yeah, they filled out the proportions and the basics. That in.
And sometimes that's all you need to do. But yeah, it's a very weird one.
Yeah,
and also would cause years and decades of problems for people trying to buy any subsequent updates of it.
I mean, yeah, that's an issue like we just didn't have. We just like, oh, we got a toy gun, fun times, doesn't matter. And much later on, I think it was even like it's probably the 90s, wasn't it, where that really they started cracking down on that stuff.
Yeah, that's when it got very. I was going to say silly, not from in terms of gun control, because I think that's always a wise thing overall. Sorry, American viewers, I do. But
well, I mean, if we're talking about gun control, I think for America it depends where we're talking, because I think people who live in the mountains and countryside really should have a gun. Because if there's a bear coming, you need that gun, baby.
Absolutely, for those purposes, fine. But no one needs an assault rifle. Let's be brutally honest.
Lots of bears, man. They come in herds.
Yeah, let's not get derailed on this one, shall we? Because we could be here a long time talking about this. But it's the thing is, you say Megatron, you think the guy turns into a pistol. Even today, with all he's had way more tanks and weird space jets than they've done of the pistol version. And yet people still think of him as the pistol.
It's because it's iconic. Like, a tank is cool. And whenever you see like a dude reacting to the Transformers 86 movie and he goes, Megatron turns into a gun, that's stupid. C needs someone to use him. He's not wrong, but there's something really like you just go, he turns into a gun. That's powerful. Like he's a dangerous weapon.
He turns into a gun and then Starship Museum to waste half of the cast of G1 Autobots.
Yeah, like every time Megatron transforms into a gun in the show, it's not like a joke, you know.
No.
For
and
what
in the comics as well,
is.
they always played it dead straight that in his gun mode, he's gonna wreck shit up.
Yeah, I don't. Did you feel like Megatron had more offensive output in terms of how much destructive power he was when he was in gun mode? Because I did. I felt like he transformed because he was like, this isn't even my full power. Turns into a gun. It's like, now I'm firing at 200% because I'm not a robot.
I mean, before they introduced the idea that he could connect himself to a black hole and start shunting antimatter out of his eyes, which just got very weird very quickly.
It's very silly. It's like, okay, sure, whatever.
But the idea that he turns into a pistol and now everything he has is focused into being a pistol.
Yeah.
Oh hell.
Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it? It's like it's like when your computer's multitasking and then when you like do one thing, it's like, it's doing this one thing pretty well. Doing it pretty well. We've got some messages. XL Hedge says it was Fans Project G3 trailer. Does that sound right to you?
That sounds about right to me, yep.
All right. The G3 trailer.
Yep, because they designed it to match the aesthetic of the classics Prime Truck mode. So it had a slightly sloped element in places, and it had more detail going on than the G1 trailer did, but it fit quite nicely.
He continues, the cartoon/comic did wonders for Megatron's design. Could you imagine if they kept him accurate? No. No. That would be a sad time. Same for Ironhide. Imagine they didn't change Ironhide's design. Oh, boy.
You say that. The very first issue of the Transformers limited series.
The Marvel one?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Ironhide and Ratchet are in their toy forms.
Aww.
And I think Megatron might be as well.
Wouldn't Megatron have been more in that TV advert version where he had the black head?
I know he had the black head eventually, because the miniseries is a really weird case, because they were working on it before the cartoon came out, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Or they're in the process at the same time, right?
Yeah,
something
and
like that.
not all of the designs were finalized. It was kind of the same situation we got into with Transformers the movie, where they were using some of the older designs, or they were using toy designs rather than the actual animation models. And for some stuff, and it was it was a good miniseries overall, but it was also a little odd at the start, because by the end of it, several characters don't look anything like they did at the start of it.
Yeah.
not for any reason, they just look different.
Teething process, I suppose, right?
But then this is also the era where Spider-Man shows up.
Well, Spider-Man's popular, get him in there, promotion, all that jazz.
Yeah, but yeah, Black Suit Spider-Man shows up and actually helps Gears, I think, fight with Decepticons.
I think that's right. Yeah, from what I kind of know, the Marvel comics.
I think it was at the start of the ongoing series. Yeah, sounds right.
XL Hedge continues, as the American in the room, no civilian needs military weaponry. You say that, but if someone said, hey, XL Hedge, do you want a tank? I'm pretty sure you'd be like, yeah, all right, I'll have a tank. I'd want a tank.
Right, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, okay, it's like, hell yeah, I want a tank. Fuck yeah. Next up, I guess, let's talk about the cassettes. We got Rumble, Frenzy,
Rumble, Frenzy, Ravage,
and Laserbeak. Yeah, I'm not going to get into the red's red, blue, 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 because I don't care.
Yeah.
It's the cartoon is correct.
Yeah.
I don't care about anything else. That's what I go with. I think these are pretty successful. I think Ravage, not surprisingly, is the weakest because he's just a flat cat, where everybody else has something to help bulk them out. The problem with Ravage is because the main draw point is his head.
You can't really hinge him out, really, to give him mass.
They tried to give him mass by putting the guns on his ass, and that's fine. That helps his ass out. But like I said, the main focus is his head, because that's what you always look to. You look, as a human, you look at the thing's head, and that's smushed. Yeah. Everything else has a fairly flushed out head for the most part, I'd say. Ravage doesn't.
Yeah. Trying to balance Ravage to stand up was also an utter swine.
I had him much later on, again with the reissue books, and I just went, no, cassette mode. There you go. You can lie down. Go to sleep, kitty. You're fine. I think, again, the only issue, I guess, with these things is there's nowhere to put their weapons. They can't really hold the weapons. Not that you really ever see Rumble and Frenzy ever use their quote-unquote guns in the show.
I mean, they've got a port on their arms. No, that's right. The guns have a clip, so you can slot it over their arms. Is it a peg?
Yeah, it's a peg that goes... You see, for the cassette mode, they have the little...
Because the peg that goes in the back, but then a fork to hold it, they've actually got two prongs on the other side.
Is that the case?
A slot over the arm. Yeah.
Then I'm stupid, because I've never done that then. Not once have I ever done that. I didn't think that was the case. Well, there you go. You learn something anew.
I mean, they're fun toys to mess around. Much like the mini-bots, they're fun little toys to have a play around with. And if you've got a Soundwave, you got a fun little play set.
Do you think they're better or worse than the mini-bots?
Well, the mini-bots have the advantage of, they're cars. So they've got that added playability built in, so you can roll them around. These ones, because they at least come with extra weapons you can plug onto them, as much as storage is an issue, it gives them a bit more menace, which is fitting for Decepticons. Because if you look at none of the mini-bots are armed at all.
That's true, yeah.
Whereas all the Decepticons are packing some serious firepower, which is pretty on brand for them, to be honest. And it gives them a how.
So you say it makes the cassette bots a little bit more impactful as like standing toys and whatnot.
I mean, the worst thing for me about the tape bots really is the fact that Rumble and Frenzy have no knees, but that's not an uncommon thing at this time, you know?
Yeah, and let's be fair, if they just had knees, it wouldn't really make them that much better.
Yeah.
They couldn't really do anything with those
They have
knees.
elbows, which is one more than Studio Series Rumble has.
Yeah, that's sad to say, isn't it?
Don't get me started on my rant about that figure. But no, I mean, this is really an iconic lineup when you pull back and look at it, because everything in this line, just as much as things change and evolve, they've informed everything else.
Well, I mean, this is you could argue the main cast. If you're going to do 4 figures, it's always Megatron, it's always Soundwave, it's always Prime, it's always at this point Bumblebee, and then if you want a 5th one, it's always Starscream. That's just who it is.
Absolutely,
these are the ones. What did you think of the Seekers?
The Seekers are lovely jets, because who doesn't love an F-15?
Sure.
But man, those robot modes are painful. The fists.
They were never again, these were ones that I got as reissues. The American reissues at first, when Toys R Us started doing those reissues around when Power Master Prime reissue happened. That's when I got a Starscream.
Yeah.
I was really disappointed because the Starscream does the transformations really I didn't find very satisfying. I didn't like how thin the arms are. I didn't like that you had to plug in these giant meaty fists.
And
like you said, the
Hulk
robot
hands.
modes. Yeah, the Hulk hands. And like you say, the robot modes, they're, I guess at the time, passable. Maybe I would have been a bit more forgiving of these if I got them as a kid.
Maybe.
I don't think they're especially good in comparison to the rest of the lineup. Are they
I mean,
are they the worst of the lineup apart from Megatron? Because I think Megatron's probably the worst Transformer playing fun-wise. I think we agreed on that for the most part.
Yeah. Well, I would probably make the argument that the Seekers might be the most fun to mess around with in toy mode. Given that
just because it's a plane.
It's a plane. They have shooting missiles.
That's true. Yeah. I think that's fair. Because a car, cars don't have firing missiles.
And they are good-looking jet modes.
Yeah.
Even with the fact that, yes, you do. Well, you can't even say they have the bot mode hanging off the bottom, because there's not much robot visible.
No, it's all hidden. Yeah. I think the worst thing about the jet modes is probably the thigh gap. That's about it. There's just a big gap in between the two engines at the back. For the vehicle mode, I'd say that's the only downside to it. Otherwise, solid, like you say, very solid, pretty big jets for the time.
Yeah.
I think they're bigger than the cars. All of the cars. I don't think any of them are as big.
And as much as the transformation ain't pretty, that layout for the robot modes, refined as it became in the cartoon and comics, it's become you see that silhouette and you know it's a Seeker. Doesn't matter what jet it turns into. Whether it's a Tetrajet, F-15, F-22, whatever. You see 2 prongs sticking above the shoulders, arm cannons, wings, Seeker.
Yeah, I think it's probably true that the planes, just because of the wingspan, the pointy bits by the head, it definitely gives them a bit more of an impactful silhouette compared to the. I guess the only what about cars are the Datsuns. Datsuns have a bit of a silhouette just because of the door sticking out of the sides of their arms. That probably still works.
And I mean, they always did try and pitch for Datsuns and Jazz as kind of like the counterparts to the Seekers in when they paired them up in the in the cartoon, certainly.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
So that makes sense because they do, like you say, the Datsuns all had wings. Seekers of Wings. It's a daft way to pair them off, but it wouldn't surprise me if that was why they did it.
You could probably say as well, just because of the repainting aspect to them as well, just because the Datsun boys were just, it was just Prowl, wasn't it? It's just Prowl again, just slightly different. Maybe that was the aspect of it as well. Just go that way. But I think for a first lineup of toys, I think, like you said, these are pretty successful. It's, you can see why Transformers took off from where it did. And then obviously for the next era, the next year, we got another load of Transformers. Still on the band of kind of just reissuing. Some of them are just like, here are more of the same. This one's not as good of an image, but yeah, it's just none of them are brand new. So
no,
we'll start off with the Autobots. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, certainly not a certain someone in the bottom right-hand corner.
No. In terms of new boys with the Autobots, we've got Blue Streak or Silver Streak. No, we've got Blue Streak and Silver Streak.
Well, no, we got Smokescreen.
Oh, Smokescreen, that's it. That's
Smokescreen, Blue Streak. Did they give us all the Datsuns in this line?
No, one of them's gone. In the previous, like if you look at the previous image, one of them's gone.
Was it? Blue Streak was in the first year, and they replaced him with Silver Streak.
Yeah, there he is.
Blue Streak with red bits.
Yep. And why not? I suppose.
Which is hilarious in of itself.
It is interesting that they did that, I suppose. So that's new. We have Trax, Inferno, Grapple,
Hoist, Grapple,
and Hoist,
Red Alert.
And Red Alert, yeah. So
it's
repaints, basically. We got repaints and very slight retools.
Skids and Trax are the only two all new sculpts. Well, Grapple as well, to be fair, because Grapple and Inferno.
Yeah, I mean it's
repainted.
Yeah.
But otherwise, there's only 3 new sculpts in the cars. That is interesting.
I think that carries over for most of the wave. We'll see that the mini bots kind of do the same. But do you have any memories of the new ones added here? Because again, I had an Inferno as a kid. So subsequently, I technically suppose had a Grapple at the end of the day. You know?
I didn't have these as toys. I am quite happy nowadays to say that I have the updated versions. But what I remember mostly is the comic strips. Skid stuff in the comic,
right?
Where he got paired off with Ravage, and he tried going off grid, being a pacifist. And I think there was some stuff with Inferno and Smokescreen in the movie era, where the one where Inferno died during the Return of Unicron arc, but he died in the most metal way possible.
Okay.
Well, he'd been shot in the chest by Death's Head after he and Smokescreen found Unicron's head being rebuilt by the Junkions on the planet of Junk.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were fleeing back to Cybertron, and where Cyclones and Scourge had restarted the war, and their ship was being shot down. And so Inferno decides, well, one of us has to make it. I've got a gaping chest wound. Throw Smokescreen out the window of this Autobot shuttle, and then crashes his shuttle into the biggest bunch of Decepticons he could find. I mean, for 1980, I want to say 86, 87 comics, that's metal as hell, man.
It's not bad.
The cover's an iconic because it's one where he's got Smokescreen having been thrown through the windscreen of this shuttle, just flying towards the reader, and it's just like, yeah, that'll stick with you.
Oh yeah, I could see that. But you see, you didn't actually have any of these new.
I didn't have any of these as toys, unfortunately. I've picked up subsequently updated Chug versions of pretty much all of them, and I've enjoyed messing around with all of them in those forms. To be fair, across Universe and Classics and Legacy now and whatnot. But
I think an issue I had with these ones specifically, at least Inferno. And technically, this was an issue that spread across the other figures that we didn't talk about, is the missile hands. Missile
Yes.
hands, never a good idea. Well, in my eyes, not a good idea. I don't think my Inferno, whenever I played with it, ever had its hands, just on the basis that I still had them. I had them in
That
my toy
sounds about
box.
right.
Yeah, I
That
had
does
them in my
sound about
toy
right.
box, but I just couldn't be bothered to get them out. Because it's just
Mm.
like, then it's not like a missile that looks kind of cool where you can put it in his hand. It's
It's
like
his hand.
you want his hand. It's like his hand's a missile. It's like, oh no.
They're not bad hands. They can hold the gun.
Yeah.
That's a novelty for this period. And just the poor Skids, he can't hold a damn thing. They're all clamped onto his forearms.
Oh yeah, that's sad for Skids.
And look at that waist, Jesus.
I'm sure they haven't transformed that correctly.
That would also not surprise me in the slightest.
I could be wrong. I've got
Some
my
of these catalogs were infamous for the mistransformations.
yeah. I mean, I've got my Skids in his collector's box still, so he's there. But yeah, the additions here not crazy good, but that's fine. We've got more mini bots. We've got the addition of Powerglide, Cosmos, Sea Spray, Warpath, and Beachcomber. I think these are actually way better than the previous mini bot figures.
Yeah, I actually had all of that wave of new ones, and they were all lovely to mess around with in hand.
I think the best things about them were the diversity of different kinds of vehicles. It wasn't just all cars.
Yeah, I mean, Beachcomber was certainly the one I had first out of this range, and the one I messed around with the longest, in all fairness, because it just does. I mean, he's got arms. He's technically got knee articulation.
Again, it's
hip articulation.
worthless knees, though, because they don't do anything. They just bend for the transformation. You can't get them to sit down.
I think you could, because
no,
I'm
he
sure
doesn't
he
have
had
hips.
Did he not?
No.
I just wanted to hit some hip articulation.
No. You can correct me on this, but I'm pretty sure that Beachcomber never had hips in G1.
No, I'll stand corrected. I do remember just that knee joint, as useless as it was, added so much to the playability.
I mean, I'm not against the knee joints, but it just not a huge thing because you flip the legs down, and that was him done. I just think,
I know what you mean.
Again, the transformations are very Micromasters-y. They're very simple and quick, and they're fun. I like these ones because if you can see from the terrible blurry image that the colors I think are a lot more interesting. We got Beachcomber is probably the worst with his colors just because it's gray and blue. Sea Spray yellow, white, and blue, which explode a lot more visually. Cosmos with the green and the yellows and a little bit red.
Warpath with his reds.
Just red. It's just like it's a really solid looking team. Nice addition. Powerglide. I didn't even mention Powerglide. He's there as well. Mistransformed for some reason.
And it even looks like they punched up the colours on Brawn as well.
Oh, you might be right. Yeah.
It looks vibrant green there.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether that's the case for the actual product that came out.
Might just be the picture of the sample they used, but
agreed.
If they did, fair shout to them.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't transform Powerglide correctly though. They just needed to push those wings just up a little bit more. Yeah. Little loosey goosey there. Maybe he was meant to be mid transformation. I don't know.
Maybe wanted to do a little bit more mass.
Maybe.
Although he did have very weird arms. Did Powerglide?
Well, yeah, they were just his engines, weren't they? I suppose maybe that's the case. But no, I think in terms of an upgrade or a second wave, the mini bots are better than the standard. Maybe you call these the basics, and you call the Inferno and those guys deluxes in quotations if you want to go down that route. I think the basics here are better.
I'd say if you're talking pocket money fodder, those are perfect.
Yeah, they're just good. Yeah, there's no bad one. They're not really fragile either. None of them are going to break too badly. Maybe Brawn, but they're all pretty solid apart from wheels. Yeah. I've learned that today. The wheels go flying off, but that's a you thing.
Jump starters.
Yeah, we have jump starters, which
I had both these guys. They were fun to mess around with.
I've never had a jump starter. They don't look good.
Well, you say that, but trust me, pulling them back and letting them rocket across the table and then leap up and transform, and they land on their feet, man, that's a feeling.
Yeah, my issue is Battle Trap and the other one are just better versions of them in at least in vehicle mode. They look like things. These just like two dudes doing yoga. They're not convincing as vehicles at all. The heads don't fold away. The arms are just out in the open. The legs literally just flip up to the ears and they're done.
No,
like,
but at the time they were some of the cheaper price point Transformers, and
I'd fucking hope so.
they had a gimmick. They did it well, and the number of knockoffs you could buy of these things was unbelievable.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I've seen a lot of the Brazil ones and stuff.
I had some nasty knockoffs of these guys back in the day.
I would definitely go down the route of these are the worst of this era in terms of their looks. They are purely gimmick based.
That's not unfair. I mean, that is what they are. They are the gimmick, and that gimmick is spring loaded, one step transformation, and they do it.
This is your gravity bot for a more I was going to say for a more modern. Gravity bots are not modern anymore. They're like 10 years ago or something probably. But
the fact that these guys could, I say, you could pull them back, let them go, and they would jump up and land on their feet, which, for the time, that was mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Don't judge me.
Yeah, that's fine. We all like different things, even wrong things. Now we have, we'll go with Perceptor next. Perceptor, a good, solid staple character who's, I guess this is a prototype Perceptor because he's got completely red feet, completely red head.
That's a different color scheme, isn't it?
Yeah, but Perceptor, another really good, solid G1 toy with a mildly sort of working microscope that kind of does something to mediocre degree.
And can make a half decent tank thing.
I can't remember. I never got this as a kid. Did the instructions say he could turn into a tank, or did they not?
I'm not sure. I never had him myself, but he had tank tracks.
Well, yeah, because it was built into the Micro Man version. I wonder if it was one of those features that they didn't say, which never happened with Transformers.
Yeah.
No, never happened. It happened a lot.
Yeah.
There were quite a few times where you're like, oh, this thing does it. I specifically remember the motivators being like, I think these things are... There's something more to this, but I don't... Same for the rescue force, which was the breast force. I was like, these things are a thing. Why don't the instructions say what these things are? What's going on? As confused as and annoyed. But no, Perceptor, very good. I'd say not the best of this wave, quickly looking over them, but I'd say he's a top contender. He's a very good one.
But he has knees.
He does have knees.
You can bend his knees.
You can.
My benchmark is very, very low.
I was going to say, is this what we're determining by great Transformer? If
it's got knees and elbows. Knees and elbows.
I would say it was just a good, solid Transformer. Like, he transformed, he looked, not 100% accurate, but he looked, for the time, one of the more accurate Transformers.
Well, I mean, the Studio Series version, again, I'm looking at him right now, is pretty much about as it's been tidied up, but it's about as good a version of the update as you're going to get.
Yeah.
All the bits are there.
Yep.
He's got the weird round things on his sides of his arms. Got his chest thing. He's got his shoulder. Does all the things you want him to.
I mean, the Studio Series has to go by what the animation model looked like.
Yeah, but even the Titan's Return version is not a million miles away from this either.
No, but it's still trying to go for a Generation 1 design, so it has to have those bits on it.
True. I mean, the Generations Arctic Explorer vehicle they did is probably the biggest departure, but even that, as fiddly as it is, still has all the beats of this Perceptor.
My issue with doing that kind of comparison is because they're still trying to echo this character, right? I'm not sure that's just because they're echoing that character doesn't make this one crazy. Like the reason that it's got these bits on his arms is because it's meant to be a microscope.
Yeah.
Doing it for later figures is just kind of harkening back to that design and made people go, Perceptor should have these because the original one had these. Like when you do a Blaster in the future, if you want to do any kind of rendition of Blaster, he has to have his speakers on his shins. Otherwise, you're doing a new interpretation of Blaster.
Yeah.
Same for Prime. Like his chest has to be the front of the cab, stuff like that. It's just like traits that I carried over from the original ones, which is fine. I don't mind that. Less we should be. I'd argue we should be going for new aspects to characters and stuff like that, but that's fine. I'd still
No,
say
that's
that
fair.
Perceptor,
That's perfectly fair as well. Yeah.
Perceptor, very solid, just good Transformer toy. You can still have a lot of fun with it now. Not too fragile. Has a
No, that's true.
slightly crap, but it works gimmick. Like, it's not a great magnifying glass, but it does. You're not gonna. It's not gonna be a real magnifying glass because that would be expensive as hell.
Yeah, but like you say, it's a fun gimmick.
Yeah, and it kind of works. Yeah.
Yeah.
Two figures who I don't think are very good. At least one I really don't think are good, and that's Whirl and Roadbuster. Yeah.
Oh, these guys.
Roadbuster is interesting. Obviously, these aren't Transformers. I can't remember what series these come from off the top of my head.
I knew this.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
They weren't from the. They wasn't even Takara, if I remember rightly.
There's something else.
Was it Bandai?
Yeah.
Tomy, I think. It might have been Tomy.
Whoever it was, you can tell these weren't your normal Transformers just with the amount of extra weaponry they came with. And they came with a lot of guns, especially Roadbuster.
These dudes are packing.
Yeah, Roadbuster has that problematic issue of being very, very parts formery, from what I remember seeing. Good looking figure. I really like the color scheme of like the browns and the orange and the greens. And I think generally he had a pretty good shape and look to him. In contrast to Whirl, who's just thin, very thin.
I mean, Whirl's got his color schemes. I think I've always quite liked Whirl's color scheme.
His color's good,
and
yeah.
The mono eye for an Autobot has always been very unique.
Yeah.
But let's be honest. And I liked these guys even back when they were records, but I can admit no one gave two frags about these guys up until Last Stand Up for Records and IDW.
Yeah, I think that's an issue with them not being in the show.
No personality.
If they're not in the show, if they're not in the comics, like who are they to a lot of kids?
As actual toys, I mean, like you say, they were both armed to the gunnels with as much weaponry as they could cram in the box.
Were they fragile? I can't remember if they're generally fragile or not. I have a feeling Whirl is.
Yeah, just because he was quite spindly.
Yeah.
Roadbuster, I want to say it was a bit tougher, but I couldn't swear to that.
I would say that's probably the case. Probably.
I will say I've quite enjoyed the Generations updates of both these two. They were quite nice figures to play with.
I don't remember the Generations Roadbuster being very good. Didn't he turn into the weird dune buggy thing?
He did. I had fun with him.
Yeah,
not everyone's cup of tea, but I liked what they were trying for.
For me, that was when I felt like the quality of Transformers began to dip.
It was in that odd period, I would admit, yeah.
I thought Whirl was an interesting attempt. I don't think anybody was happy with Whirl, generally speaking, because when
Whirl was a bit of a compromise.
People didn't want that Whirl. People didn't want G1 Whirl. People wanted IDW Whirl at that point. And a lot of people was kind of salty.
Because he had bits of IDW Whirl merged with G1 Whirl, but just not enough.
No, it was mainly G1. If they did any kind of comic thing, it was just very mild. Not to the point where anybody was happy. I remember I had a fiddle with Dave's and didn't think much of it. It's weird transformation, not desperately fun, strange hands that didn't really work. It was messy, but I guess you could say that was the same for the original one. I'd say he was probably a bit on the messy side. Unlike Blaster, he just kind of runs away with it again, kind of like Soundwave. Very simple transformer, transforms into a very simple blocky boombox, but has a good working gimmick. Maybe the only downside is it doesn't seem like... I think... Did he come with a cassette? Because the image here doesn't have the Steel Jaw.
He didn't come with a cassette.
How did he get Steel Jaw? Is that separate?
They did 2 packs like with Soundwave, but they didn't come out till later because there was...
So what was
Ram Horn
and
Rewind,
I
think, and Eject and Steel Jaw.
Okay.
I remember because I bought one of those packs and I broke Steel Jaw and took it back to Toys R Us and could never get a replacement.
Oh, that's
so
a
I
bummer.
traded in something else.
Okay, so that's the one downside about Blaster. He's on his own.
Downside.
Yeah,
but that's kind of a flaw of that of how they integrated him. They only gave him 4 tapes as opposed to 5 for Soundwave and than
Yeah,
all the others.
he should have had a bonus tape just to come with,
Would
so
have been
you
nice.
could play with something. Just like Soundwave, he came with Buzzsaw. You could interact with his feature. Blaster needed just a dude. I don't know who. You probably redo Steeljaw and you paint him into
That would probably been the
like
easiest
a
one
white
to do, to be
version
fair.
or something, you know.
Or a repaint of Rewind or Eject. That would have probably been the other
I would have
option.
said no to that because he would have had 3 versions of the same mold. That's
Yeah,
why
that's
I
true
think
as well.
you pick one of the animals and you want another rhino. I don't know what you'd paint another rhino into. You could probably paint a lion into another cat thing and be like, there you go, it's good enough.
Yeah, that would probably have been the best option.
That's why I chose that. But again, Blaster, that's a great figure. I don't think you could go wrong with Blaster. And then there were the Dinobots, which, again, very good, very fragile, and Swoop doesn't exist. Swoop, if I could, I'd cut Swoop out because that was our option for getting him. AKA, there was no option. He wasn't ever available, which was stupid.
Yeah, I had Snarl and later Grimlock out of these guys, and that was it. But man, they were fun to mess around with.
I had Grimlock, I had Sludge, and I had G2 Snarl.
Ooh, nice.
I was missing Slag, and I was missing, what's it called? Swoop. There we go. Yeah. The Grimlock's still a great, solid figure.
Yeah.
Because I've never played with Snarl. Sorry, Slag or Swoop. I think he's probably the best. My Sludge, both of his wings have broken off. So I would say that's the downside for him.
His tail, when the way it's split, that was very prone to one of those halves snapping at the hinge.
I never had that with my G2 one, but the head
happened to me.
The head for, you know how you peg the head together for the Stegosaurus mode. The peg for that broke apart on mine. So I will say that the stability of the Dinobots, I don't know whether that's a general thing.
Their legs were a bit of an issue as well, because those thighs they're very spindly for what they're holding, because they had a lot of metal in the torsos, those boys.
They did. I don't think I had too much of an issue with mine for that problem. I think again it's mainly stability around this area. Pegs and ports. Those were the most flimsy and the most kind of dangerous. But the Dinobots, very good, solid toys for the most part, apart from a bit of flimsiness, and they look good as well.
And who doesn't love robotic dinosaurs?
Well, that's the thing. You know, it's just that's an easy sell. You can see why they went to these guys and went, "Oh, we'll buy the Dinobots." It's like, these will sell.
I mean, I'm one away from having a full set of the Studio Series guys.
Yeah.
I didn't intend to do that. I just picked up Grimlock because I saw him on a sale, and then I was like, "Oh, god damn it!"
The Dinobots are that we've said. Me and Mikey have said this many times that they could spend money on making new molds for the old G1 toys and sell them, and people would buy them. They would.
Absolutely.
It's the Dinobots. If you could get good quality new G1 Dinobots, I think most people would do it, especially if you made them cartoon accurate. So you give the cartoon accurate Swoop, which I don't think has ever been a real thing.
I mean, I'm honestly intrigued to see what they do because with Swoop for Studio Series. Because is he going to be leader size? Because they haven't, outside of the third party Masterpiece guys, mainline, Powerful Prime's Dinobots, Swoop scales with the 3 other limbs. That's not really a fair comparison. My initial set of Dinobots I bought when I got back into collecting full time through Planet X, Swoop is half the size of everyone else.
I'm going to say the Studio Series 100% will be leader scale.
I really hope so, because I just want to Swoop the same scale.
Why wouldn't he be? That would be the question I'd ask. Why?
Because Hasbro have had this weird thing that, because I don't know if you noticed, but in and I know it's a 10-year-old game now, so shoot me if you want to. Full of Cybertron, they established that Swoop was smaller than the other Dinobots.
Oh, okay. My
that.
bad.
And
I
some
should
reason,
clarify. I
for
think
some
he's
reason,
going to be
Hasbro've got
sold
it.
at a leader quality, at a leader
Yeah.
size point. I think he will be smaller. I don't think significantly. He will be sold as a leader, but I think because of its wingspan, they will. I don't think massively. He's not going to be like Voyager scale. I don't think.
I mean,
but I think they will reduce it.
If he was maybe a head smaller than the other guys, I could
Mm.
probably live with it. But I hope he's not like Void scale compared to their size. Cause
Yeah,
that
sorry,
would
I
hurt.
thought you meant price wise. I'm like,
Sorry.
he's 100% being price wise leader.
I mean, price wise,
100%.
I mean, the only other thing price wise is I do hope that they maybe consider throwing in the rest of the Dinobots' other weapons.
Oh no, mate.
Just
no.
or I'll just keep buying third-party upgrades for them because
You're gonna have to do that. I don't like. I think the thing that's gonna. The reason he's not gonna maybe be leader scale, but he's gonna be leader price point is the wings. The wings are gonna be where the extra money goes, just because you don't do a lot with them. You just fold them in one joint, but they'll be two big bits of plastic. So yeah,
that's a fair point.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah. The only if we're talking about worst come situation, he'll be commander scale, like Ultra Magnus is. So he'll be the leader scale, but he'll be more expensive because he has bigger wings.
Oh, ouch!
I don't know whether that happened, but that would be like it'll either be smaller
now
leader
price.
I
can so
commander.
see it.
Yeah. I don't know which it is. I like again if it's commander, I think that would make sense as well, mainly because of the box size. Because it would be a longer box. Like the Ultra Magnus box is probably long because he's in trailer mode. You could put Swoop in there because of his wingspan.
I mean, I could see the wings being detachable.
Yeah, that would
in the
make
package
sense.
And shipped, folded up, or just folded up, attached to the back of the card insert.
Yeah, but you could also see it being not disconnectable and just splayed out in a commander box. Yeah, that's one of the things. That's something to think about for the future.
Thanks for that cheery thought, Andy.
No worries.
Much appreciated.
I'm always here to do the gloomy business. Like, what would the shitty business option be? It's like, oh, that's probably the shitty business option. Unfortunately, Excel Hedge says Commander Swoop. It's like, yeah. I don't know whether he put that in because he's like Commander Swoop's a really fun name. I prefer the term Commodore Swoop. I think that's better.
Surely that's Skylinks.
Commodore Swoop? Nah.
Commodore Skylinks?
Nah, I don't like Skylinks. He's a cunt. Never liked him. Never liked him as a kid. I was happy when he got infected with the hate plague. I was like, piss off. I didn't say piss off as a kid, but I just never liked him. Never did. XL Hedge says big wings and a flight stand. I could. Yeah, I don't think they. Well, maybe they would give you the flight stand because it's studio series, quote unquote. Maybe. I mean, that wouldn't be a terrible idea to give him a flight stand so you could actually pose him. I'm just concerned that would be something Hasbro wouldn't want to do because that would be something else that they'd have to spend. And
the only flight stand I'm aware of from putting in a quotation marks mainline figure is the one for Star Saber.
Mainline figure. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Quote unquote. Big quote unquote. Yeah. I think you're right. I don't think they've done any of the. No. I can't think of any of the flight stand apart from masterpieces, but that's a different thing.
That's a different sort of thing.
Nice idea, though, I suppose. You do get the shitty stands in most of the studio series, which no one uses and throws away because they're crap. Bits of cardboard.
I don't think I've ever done anything with any of those other than throw them in the bin.
Yeah, I mean, they're not good, so. Omega Supreme, the big boy, the biggest boy of the set.
The Chonk.
The Chonk, the only one with electronic gimmick as well. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. From the Autobot side of things, yeah.
Yeah, I'm mildly confident he's the only one. I'm sure we'll turn the page and there's more. I don't think his walking gimmick's good, as he doesn't really walk. He shuffles very slowly like an old man.
But he does shuffle.
He does shuffle, 100%.
Give him credit for that at least. That's more than anyone else on this page does.
I remember seeing the getting him for the first time because again a reissue, and watching the feet go on, I was like, oh, that's really cute. It's kind of sad, but it's kind of cute in its own special way. Maybe not the. I don't think he's better than the Dinobots, but he's definitely got presence because he is big.
Absolutely.
He's got a solid color scheme.
Yeah.
I don't know what he is though. If you were to ask me as a kid, what is Omega Supreme? I'd be like, he's a rocket. It's like, well, his arm is a rocket. What else is he?
Yeah.
I don't know. A tank on a thread that goes around in a circle? Yeah. Does a tank come off the treads? No. Does he ever do anything with the tank in the show? Not really.
I mean, they never really answer the question of when the rocket shoots off, how the hell does the rest of them get to the other end first?
Didn't they show you once where it all kind of went with him at one point?
Oh, did it?
Maybe. That sounds like something that would happen. Like the rocket went up and then the other bits kind of flew off as well. I could be misremembering. But it's the Prime trailer thing. They're just there. Don't worry about it. Don't think about it.
Yeah.
Don't think about it. I do like his big claw. Omega Supreme's a massive claw. It's really fun. The head's very iconic.
Yep.
But there is a lot of... I think the worst part about him is the parts forming to make his legs. That's the worst thing. Like, obviously his... I was going to say his thighs. He doesn't have thighs. He's basically... Omega Supreme G1 is a torso with shins and feet.
Yes.
And that is
I mean, if you look at it, really his torso should be about 4 inches higher.
At least, yeah. Because he doesn't even have a waist, really.
No.
Does he not have a waist because he has no thighs? If he had thighs, would it look more like he had a waist? I don't know.
Maybe.
But either way, he doesn't have them.
No, he's a weird old egg.
Yeah, still fun though.
And a massive presence in the cartoon and comics.
Yeah, well, he became the taxi service, I suppose, in the cartoon.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the comics introduced him by having him basically murk all the Decepticons. But weren't Megatron, Soundwave, and Shockwave, which was quite funny. And then in the cartoon, he was just season 2. He was there quite a lot of season 2.
He was mainly there for taxi service, though. If I remember, he taxi service and then would go to sleep most of the time. I'm not sure.
But they gave him a few episodes here. That whole thing where they gave him his rivalry for Constructicons.
For that one episode, yeah.
And revealed that his speech pattern was just an affection.
Yeah, well, that was the same episode where Megatron's backstory happened for the second time or the third time.
Yeah.
Whichever one it was.
I can't remember anymore.
Yeah, that was Crystal City.
It was never the same, was it?
No, well, in that episode, the Constructicons made him. And in the previous, in War Dawn, it was somebody else that made him.
That's right.
It's like, oh, okay.
Man, G1 was weird.
Well, yeah, well, there probably wasn't like someone to oversight to be like, this is how this happened.
I know, it was a toy commercial, but...
Yeah.
Some shows had continuity.
Some, not a huge amount. A lot of them would just get a writer, write as a story, whatever, just push this toy, please. It's like, there we go. All right.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is fair, It was the 80s. It was the first time they was doing this kind of stuff. But Omega Supreme, good toy. Still a good toy. Not reissued for a while. I would say...
I really want to get the Titan version at some point. I've missed that twice now.
Nah, get the reissue of the original G1 toy.
But let's talk. But let's talk about my personal.
Hang on,
bow.
I'll tell you what you should do, which you won't be able to ever do because I haven't done it. What you should do is you should get the Space Station. Is it the Space Station Astro version, the black and red one, the original version?
Oh Lord,
they've never done that redo of the Titans version. They should do.
That's a good point
because it's a cool color scheme.
I mean, now they've done the Guardian Sentinel version. It's surely only a matter of time until they do the other color scheme.
Let me sell it to you. Well, you're a Hasbro executive, okay? Shattered Glass, Omega Supreme. There you go. That's how we justify it. It's Shattered Glass Omega Supreme, so we can charge you even more than a normal time because he's
because someone at Hasbro has a serious hard-on for Shattered Glass.
Exactly. So it's just Shattered Glass. He's the Astro version. Boom. Love it. Enjoy. Give me a pay rise, you bastard. We have Mr. White in the comments. Hello, Mr. White. Was TF Nation good fun? I hope it was for you. He says that comic debut was very impressive. Like a wrestling debut was very impressive. Like a wrestling debut, the greatest hits. He's wrote it again with the corrections. That comic debut was very impressive, like the wrestling debut of the greatest hits, or just repeated, one of the two. Yeah, I think he means for Omega Supreme. But there you go. Yeah, 100%. Black version. Wait for that to come out. Shattered Glass. I'm just telling you. You were gonna say about Skyfire, Jetfire. This was Jetfire, wasn't it? He was sold as Jetfire, yes. I think, right?
Sold as Jetfire, but as we all know and love it, it's the Macross Super Veritech VF1S.
This is the only time you'll ever see him this color, because 90% of the time, when you see a Macross Jetfire, he is yellow. He is yellow, black, and red. He is the yellowest transformer you ever see.
Yep. But can we just take a minute to bask in the awesomeness that is the Veritech design, because that thing never gets old.
No, it was a solid design. There's a reason why they were sued to never use it again, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, there's several reasons. One is that Harmony Gold...
They're assholes.
Yes.
They're assholes. 2,
Big West. Was it Big West? I'm trying to remember who had the... Because this is when Hasbro just went shopping for mechs from any company in Japan that was making them, just to fill a gap.
Yeah.
And they bought the Veritech, which is still a brilliant figure, this one. Full stop. It's still one of the all-time great transforming action figures.
Isn't it very, like... I don't want to say brittle, but a lot of the time I either see it bright yellow or damaged. Is it, or is it just like people treating it badly?
I think it's just because of how it transforms. There are a lot of moving parts involved.
Would you say this is the most complex transformer in this era of this year?
I would say so.
Okay, that's interesting.
I mean that thing, look at it. It's got articulated arms, shoulders, elbows, wrists. I think it had a knee joint. It's got thighs, certainly.
It looks like it's got a knee joint. I could be wrong, but it looks like it.
The fast pack can detach from the limbs and the back, so you can create an F14 analog.
Yep.
As the classic Veritech was.
Just in the red bits on the side of the thighs and the forearms come off as well.
Yeah, they detach as well. They're all part of what was the fast pack, the super pack rather, for the Veritechs in Macross. The gun can attach to it. You can do the Gur walk mode if you want to, so it's got playability like that. And of course, because Harmony Gold were marketing Robotech at the time and wanted their own toy line, this got slapped with a hammer so hard.
Yeah, if we're talking about toys that are never going to get reissued ever again, Megatron's one of them. I think this is more egregious than Megatron. This will never happen. Guns are, there's a bit of a touchy subject in America.
Yeah.
Legal rights from Harmony Gold, you'll never get it. Never.
I mean, in fairness, Harmony Gold has recently been told to shut the fuck up by several judges.
I'm not surprised, yeah.
So, as it stands, they've been told that they must work with the Japanese companies to distribute Macross, which, is a lovely thing to see, because Harmony Gold don't make anything. No. They keep saying they're going to, and they never fucking do.
No, they've been saying it for years, right?
Yeah, I mean, the best Robotech material that's come out in like the last decade was the comic that Titan did.
Oh God, really?
Had Brian Wood, Simon Furman, and then another writer came on for the third big arc, and it just kind of petered out over COVID.
Huh.
Which was a shame, because it was doing some interesting stuff as like a parallel retelling of Robotech.
Okay.
But that, as far as I can tell, Harmony Gold had not a jot to do with that series. They just licensed it to Titan.
Yeah, it's the way of Harmony Gold. They're not a producer, they're licensee, and not much of a licensee, from what I hear.
And it hurts, because there's so much Macross that would be great to see with a dub, if nothing else, or just a subtitle, if nothing else, because there's so bland much of it.
Well, here's the question then. For the Autobot side of things, for the second year of Transformers, who do you think's your number one winner and why? Who's like for you the toy of the era of the new ones, obviously, because you can't really count Prime because he was previous.
Yeah, I mean, purely because I actually had it, Snarl and the Dinobots.
And why?
Well, I think they've got a nice aesthetic as a team. You can tell that they're a group within the Autobots, beyond just the fact that they're all dinosaurs. They've got that shared steel grey with red and gold, and then Grimlock's got his own distinctive gold highlights and mark him as the boss man. But just the fact that I love a Stegosaurus.
Okay, yeah.
And he's a robot Stegosaurus.
Yeah.
And he was fun as hell to play with.
All right, yeah, that's okay. For me, I'd say Grimlock. I think Grimlock's probably the biggest winner here. I was considering Blaster, but then I thought he's too similar to Soundwave, so it's kind of a rehash in a lot of ways. Grimlock's unique.
If you were talking impact on the franchise, then Grimlock is probably the most important character from this wave for the Autobots, certainly.
Yeah, he certainly had the most staying power. I would agree with that. Yeah. Definitely. He'd never had any of the issues that I had with any of the other two Dinobots that I had, so he's also got that above him. Just pretty basic, simple transformer, and he's a T-Rex. You know what?
Yeah,
little boy doesn't like a T-Rex that eats things. You know, very good, very solid. It doesn't turn bright yellow. That's also kind of a big deal, I would say.
This is true.
No yellow. I'm just saying.
And the gold was all plated. It wasn't gold plastic. It was plated plastic.
That's right. So, yeah, there's no flaking, which was nice. Decepticon side of things, it's a little bit half-assed in more ways than one. There's not much new. What do we get? We get the cone heads. So we get basic, just like here's some new wings and some new guns, and that's them.
Yeah.
The Autobot side felt a little bit more fleshed out. We're talking about quote unquote the deluxes.
Yeah.
So it can't really win there. Were you going to say something?
Well, there's Insecticons.
I mean, I was just talking about them. We were moving on to the other ones later.
I mean, they're fun for what they are, but they are a little, like you say, there's no real effort been put into those, is there?
No, it's just Starscream again, just with new wings. It's like, okay. And a new paint job, to be fair. And that's it. It's like, okay, well, that's not great. Megatron's still here. Soundwave's still here. The cassettes are still here. Who else is kind of... Oh, that was the entire line from the previous wave. New Boy. Who do we start off with new boy-wise? Let's start off with the Insecticons, the basic Insecticons.
Yeah, that works.
Brought over from the same line at the same time period as the Dinobots. I have no idea why insects versus dinosaurs in Japan at the time was a thing, but it carried over, I suppose, to Transformers. Pretty solid. Again, I think they're all pretty successful. They all look fairly good in their robot modes, and they all look good in their insect modes, and they're pretty accurate to their on-screen counterparts as well, which is always a bonus. I'd say more so than the Dinobots.
I'd probably say so.
Yeah, I think they're more accurate.
And it helps that they are, because they were one of the smaller toys that wasn't a basic figure as well, weren't they?
That's right. Yeah.
So you could almost, if you were lucky enough, have actually bought yourself a little swarmer for buggers.
Oddly enough, I think they're about the same size as what do you call him? Origins Bumblebee. So like 4 inches tall, probably.
That sounds about right.
I think they're about that size. They are small, but again, pretty good, pretty effective.
Like I say, they've got guns, which is not a guarantee at this time and price point.
Oh, agreed.
They look good in robot and bug mode.
Yep. Their articulation's, standard. I wouldn't say it's anything terrible for the time or stand out. Just
But they
there it
also have a
is.
really nice unified color scheme
Yeah,
for
they
the
all
team.
work together. Yeah, and they
So
work
that
well with
black, purple,
Decepticons
and
as
gold
well.
is with the silver highlights is spot on.
Yeah, yeah, it's a good solid one. I think the ones that get shit on the most because they never ever really talked about is the deluxe Insecticons, who are I think, well, at least some of them are better because we don't have Venom here. We have no Venom is here. Who's the missing one? Because there's one missing.
I always
Hang
forget
on,
with these
1,
guys
2,
because
3. No, there is. All 4 of them are there. I'm stupid. My
yeah,
bad. Yeah, we got a Chop Shop, Barrage, a Ransack, and Venom. I think all of them are good. I think they've all got a nice color scheme. I have Chop Shop somehow. I can't remember when I got him, but I do have him. I don't think he feels as nice as the Insecticons, generally speaking. He's got flaps on the side of his legs, which I don't think you can fold away. I can't remember what you have to do with them, but they're not the best. And his chest kind of splits open, but not really. These are
kind of a
ones.
shame. It's kind of a shame as they marketed them as being the deluxe Insecticons, so they were supposed to be the higher price point, the more involved versions.
Yeah, I'm not
So
sure
it's kind of a shame.
how much more involved they were. Maybe they had like an extra few steps because the Insecticons were 3 steps. I'm looking at them and trying to remember how you transform them. They're probably about 3 steps, 4 steps. Maybe the Insecticons are 4 steps, 5 steps.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Here's a question for you. Do you think they would have looked better if they had the same palette as the regular?
No. I think it would have made them less distinct. I'm trying to think if it like Chop Shop would have just blended silhouette wise would have just blended into Shrapnel. They would have looked too similar. Barrage would have again looked too similar to Bombshell, and same for Kickback and Ransack. The only one that would have had a slightly different
would have been Venom.
Yeah, and that's it. So I think
that's fair.
I don't know why the deluxe Insecticons have never ever really been touched. They just get left to the side, but yeah,
well, it's kind of like Roadbuster and World. They were the deluxe Autobot cars, and they were just there to kind of pad out the toy line for that year.
It must just be because they just weren't used in the cartoon or the comics to a huge degree. It must be that reason that they've never stuck around.
Yeah, I mean the only comic that I'm aware of to feature deluxe Decepticons was the old Time Wars, where they were part of Mayhem Attack Squad, and then they all got massacred within the space of 1.5 issues.
Oh, it sounds about right, but oh.
I mean, to be fair, it was Megatron and Galvatron doing it. So.
Oh, sure, yeah. It's still the obvious shame.
Yeah.
Again, I wish these ones were a bit more loved. Triple Changer Wise, Blitzwing, and the correct version of Astro Train, which we didn't get, as far as I know, because I didn't get this version.
Yeah, I have the white version as well.
Yeah, I don't think this one came out. I don't know why it's here, because it looks way better. It looks more like Astro Train. I'd say Astro Train, really good. I've never played with my Blitzwing that I have, because again, he is still in his box, but I think Astro Train... There was only one aspect of the Astro Train which I didn't like, and that was transforming his shuttle feet, to get the shuttle nose cone out.
To fold him out.
Yeah, that was a bit on the faffy side. Everything else I found pretty satisfying. I really liked flipping down the panels to make the train mode. There was something really satisfying about flipping those over and unfolding the little bit that was tucked under to fill out that gap.
They were both quite satisfying toys to play with, I will confess. I have just realised, though, they've given Astro Train Blitzwing's weapons for some reason.
Oh, you're right.
was bugging me for a second. I was thinking, what's wrong with this picture? Oh, yeah. But
does Blitzwing have any weapons in this image? I can't actually tell. Because it's blurry. It's not a great image.
Looks like he's got his sword and his gun, but they're held upside down for some reason.
Yeah, but it's really hard to tell. If I zoom in more, it is literally a 3-pixel
I remember
mess.
my Blitzwing, I broke the connection between the tank turret and the hull.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so the turret, I always took it off when I had to transform it.
Oh.
Which is a shame, but still quite fun to mess around with.
No, I remember having a lot of good time with the Astro Train, even though he has really piddly arms. They're very, very tiny.
And his chest shield gets in the way all the time.
I didn't find the chest shield got too in the way because mine wasn't loose, so it stayed in place. And because it could fold, it would just move out the way fairly easily for me. But that was mine. Obviously, these things are different for a lot of people. The thing I'm most annoyed about here is just the incorrect, what should have been the correct color scheme for Astro Train here. That's the thing that irks me the most. And I think
one thing about
was good.
Blitzwing had one real issue that became a factor as time went on, and that was, if I remember rightly, a lot of his die cast was in the shoulders.
Oh, I could see what you're saying.
And the hin, well, basically where you have to fold the tank treads back to form the jet wings and the robot mode shoulders, that connection over time could come loose.
Right.
So it got to a stage where you just could not keep the arm. I was using blue tack to keep the wings stuck to the shoulders because it just would not stay in place. There was just too much weight for the hinge, and the connector just couldn't hold it anymore.
If that's the case, is that the first time a Transformer that we've been talking about from this era has had that kind of major issue? Because I think that might be the case. I think there are some future Transformers that have that problem
in fairness,
as well.
I did have my Blitzwing for the best part of 19 years.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm talking about. The thing I'm talking about is I'm thinking about the other Transformers we've talked about, and I think looking at them, there aren't any ones that will fall apart on you like that. Maybe Grimlock. I could say maybe Grimlock would do that because of how his chest connected to his kind of upper head.
I mean, in fairness, Blitzwing was normal because I don't remember, but his shoulders, you also had to fold them. The sides of the tank folded on themselves to form the wings and that arm assembly, but you also had to rotate them around the torso to get them up into the arm position. Because if you look at the jet, you can see where the wings are basically the opposite side of, but down by his legs if you're looking at it from robot mode.
Yeah.
So basically, they folded 180 around, and they didn't hold in place particularly securely anyway. And there was a lot of die cast in that side of the wings on the shoulder side. So very odd design. It worked, but after a while,
didn't have longevity. Just because, like you said, bad placement of where weight distribution is for joints and whatnot. I could see that. Constructicons, first of the combiners.
These are great.
Obviously not the Scramble City combiners. They were their own thing and brought over and made into the Decepticons, the Constructicons. All again, pretty good. I think my main issue with the Constructicons was I had a hook. It was the G2 hook. And just one day, as I was transforming his leg just snapped. Snapped off. I don't know why. Yeah,
that's no good.
Yeah.
I had a gift set I was bought of the entire team that I think was from Spain, if I remember right. My parents went away and brought it back for me. And I remember that one of the team, and I can't remember which one it was, but actually I think it might have been Scrapper. I broke one of his arms. And because that formed the back of the leg, that caused problems.
A tad, yeah.
Yes. Luckily, when we moved to Hong Kong, I was able to buy a replacement just because they still had him on the shelves somehow. But that was not great. And again, in the version I had, just still they were putting some die cast into them, especially with some of the joints on like Hook's the crane, isn't he?
Yes, Hook's the crane.
Yeah, because especially around his joint that folds in round on itself to form the shoulders and the upper torso. That was quite a chunky bit of metal that they used to form that joint, and all the other guys had random bits of die cast spread across them to give them some heft.
That's right.
But they looked nice as a team. That color scheme is still. You say purple and green, or green and purple, and people think Constructicons.
Yeah.
With good reason. And they're just such a nice team to fit around with.
I would definitely say that as individual dudes, the Constructicons were good. as a child, I did not think it was very intuitive how you made them combine. I had no idea.
No, that's fair. I mean, I remember having problems with how you plugged Mixmaster and Scaven and Scrapper onto the thigh joints, and
I had a bit of an issue getting
arm.
that weird thing into into long haul, between his legs and have that clip. I wasn't quite sure what I had to do for that.
Yeah, it was not the most intuitive at times, transformation, I will confess.
Yeah, I think if we're talking about combiner teams, I think individually the Constructicons are the best of the individual combiner teams from compared to the Scramble Cities, just on the basis that I think they have a more unique look to them when they transform. They all transform mildly differently, not massively, but compared to Scramble Cities.
You can tell they're still a team.
Yeah.
But they're not as uniform as the later combiners became.
You don't just flip back the front of the car and unfold the legs like you did for the Stunticons.
And it's nice for it's like Mixmaster has a very weak missile launcher in his head, but he's got a missile launcher in his head.
Yeah, that never worked for me.
The other guys was it Bone Crusher and Scavenger both had the missile launcher / hand assembly that
you
had
could
a drill as well
in vehicle mode, which was confusing. I didn't really know why, but you could.
No, but it was fun to mess around with and give you a missile launcher. Not a powerful one, but it was still a missile launcher.
Yep.
Hook had his little crane bit that went in and out, which is probably the bare minimum play feature for a crane you could ever imagine. And the other guys could all attach bits of the combined form to make other weird weapon loadouts.
Yeah, Long Haul had the leg connector things, which never looked like anything. It looked like a mess. At least Scrapper came with the wing chest plate, which you could pretend made him flyable in vehicle mode, which was fun.
Weird.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense. Yeah.
And they all have guns. They all have an individual gun. That's quite a nice little touch.
Yeah,
not an essential thing, but it's novel. It's nice to see it.
Well, yeah, it's definitely, it gives them it's better than the Autobots who just mainly didn't come with guns at all. It's interesting. Some of them, the mini bots at least. Mr. White sent a message saying, sadly, the convention hotel connection is playing havoc with YouTube chat. Convention was okay. Very well run and very busy. Arguably the largest amount of first timers TFN ever had. Ooh, well, that's pretty cool.
That's excellent.
Mikey panel went down well. Missed the first few minutes that he can tell you about, but the lad did well. And I saw a nice Moonbase 2 plug at the end. Oh, good. I was gonna be like on his ass if he didn't say about Moonbase 2. I was gonna get right in his poo hole, be like, "You fucking didn't mention the pissing show, you bastard." Fuck's sake. Well, I'm glad he did mention it. Good. Mr. White also says Blitzwing's wing rotation was a pain, so he agrees with you there, Big D. And XL Hedge says my G1 Devastator was a KO that came in an Easter basket set. An Easter basket. I did my first. My first complete Constructicons were. Do you remember in the early days of eBay? When you could buy all of the combiner teams from China, and it was like, oh, you could get this team for like £8, and I was like, oh my god, what could go wrong? And I got them, and everything went wrong. Everything.
Did they explode?
Well, my first hint that things were not quite as they should have been were when I looked at all of their faces, and their faces looked like someone had held them over a match. Their faces were all melted. I was like,
that's not a good look.
It wasn't the best sign. And then I started trying to put them together, and none of them had plastic cohesion, so they were all slightly too big or too small to connect into the ports where they should have been connecting. So I went, nah, I'm good. I can't remember what I'd done with it. I might still have the set somewhere buried, or I might have just given it to charity and been like, oh, haha, you can have it. My mistake.
But I've got the Takara Combiner Wars version of the team knockaround.
Oh yeah,
around here. That was quite nice.
It's an okay set. It's okay.
Well, it was nice just to have give everyone elbows.
I mean, there's no reason for them to be the scale that they are. They could have been downscaled to deluxes and voyage deluxes easily, and you wouldn't have lost anything. That was my issue with that set. It's someone went Control T and made them bigger. Same for the Unicron for HasLab. Control T, make big. for no reason.
I must admit, I have been looking at on AliExpress some of the KO Constructicons out there and thinking, do I get one of these? Would my nephew like that?
It depends. Some of the KO Constructicons aren't too bad. It depends which ones you're
some of them
going
look
for.
very nice.
Yeah.
So
I think you literally could get a downscaled version of the Titan's Return.
I think
and that was actually pretty good. It was fine quality-wise from what I remember hearing. It's like, oh, damn.
Yeah, I think it's like 30 or 50 quid, which is pretty good.
It's not bad, no, for the amount of guys you're getting in it. It's like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. And I guess the last big one for this era of Transformers was Shockwave. Big old, loud, very noise irritating
Mr. Space Gun.
Yeah, the only Decepticon with sound and light features. We had motor features with Omega. This one has lights and sound, so that was good. I have this one in a box, in a G1 box. I believe him in a G1 box. It was around the time when you could get eBay deals many moons ago. Remember the days? I got like Ape Face for £30 complete off eBay once.
Nice.
No, at the time it wasn't. It was just like standard. You know, that was the era that I lived in at that point. It's just like you could get these things relatively cheap. And now,
I must admit, when I got back into collecting, I just didn't look for G1.
You made a
that
mistake.
Wasn't really. I was chugging Beast Wars collecting.
I mean, getting the Beast Wars stuff, that's not a bad call, to be fair. Beast Wars is solid.
Yeah, I have had some very lucky lots I've bought Beast Wars over the years that have done me quite nicely.
I will say I miss the old days on eBay where you got that rush of like outbidding someone on a snipe. Ooh, it was good. Oh, you felt that ecstasy rush as you like went boom, last bid. It's mine, you bastard. Suck it. I love that.
See, I'm rather more sanguine about it. I can't think of any time I've actually done that. I've always just put the bids in and waited to see how it lands.
No, back in the day, ooh, it was a good feeling, man. This was like early 2000s kind of eBaying, the wild west of eBay. That's what it was back then. Ooh, what a time! But Shockwave, my only real issue with Shockwave is the fact that he comes with a rubber tube, and that rubber tube does not enjoy time, or time doesn't enjoy that rubber tube.
And I imagine you need to take care of his electronics as well, because that's...
I took his batteries out.
Yeah.
That's all you really need to do, just so he doesn't melt, like all Transformers do.
Yeah.
If you leave batteries in them, I mean.
Did the barrel of his gun come off?
Yes, it detached.
And you had to put it separately somewhere?
Yeah, you just put it to the side.
Else.
Yep. It was another one of those things where you just went, I put this in the toy box and hope I don't lose it. I mean, I assume because I didn't have the Shockwave as a kid, as I mentioned. But he's good. He's a solid toy.
Yeah.
He looks
Lovely
nice.
Bit of design.
I'd easily say, in terms of gun and robot, he's better than Megatron by leaps and bounds.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, look at the images. Like Megatron's a really nice gun, but he's a poo robot mode. Shockwave is both a fun sci-fi gun and a pretty good solid robot mode. Maybe his legs are a bit thin, but that's no shock.
And makes surprisingly good set dressing, as the team who made Aliens found out.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they was he a scanner? He was in the medical wing, wasn't he?
Yeah,
the medical bay.
I've done 2 weeks right now with the watch along for Fluffnammer. We've had Aliens on because I was trying to put it on twice for people who missed it the first time. And I've been trying to keep an eye out for where Shockwave is in for different scenes.
How many times does he pop up? I can't remember.
I think it's maybe 3 or 4 that that are noticeable. But like I said, he's just using the space gun. It's just upside down as a scanner. It's just funny.
We had a really interesting shape as a space gun, so you could see why like a set designer would just be like, throw it on there. Why not?
Yeah.
It's good enough. XL Hedge says TFC Hercules is still my favorite choice. Did you have a Hercules? Big Swing and D?
No, I've not had any of the third-party devies, to be fair. I'm like I say, if the price is right, I might indulge before Christmas or afterwards.
Hercules is like the first Transformer third-party combiner, I think. I remember he was there at my first, or some of his parts were at the very first auto assembly.
Yeah,
That was
some
a
are for
long time
parts.
ago. Yeah, I think like two of them were out at that point, but not many.
Yeah,
Orange.
I know some of those third-party Devastators I've looked at and just gone, ooh, that's an investment.
Oh, yeah. Well, the third party.
I I, I, I did Feral Rex. That's kind of my big combiner investment. So,
I think that's a
but
good one. To be fair, Feral Rex was a
yeah,
stunner. To be fair. Orange says, "Remember when the deluxe Insecticons were actually unique molds? Good times." I do. We were talking about them
as
earlier.
opposed
I
to
like
just being
them.
a remold of something else.
No, not even a remold, a repaint. They're just
Yeah,
repaints.
yeah.
It's really sad. I like them being their own unique transformers. But we're not
Yeah.
allowed that. They just have to be repaints, unfortunately. It's a real bummer. Who do you think's the winner then for you out of this era of the Decepticons? We had, you said Slag. No, you said Snarl for the Autobot side of thing. What about the Decepticons?
From what I had,
because I'm
I'd
leaning between Astro Train and Shockwave.
See, for ones that I owned, I'd say Constructicons.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's just in terms of looking at it today, I'd say Shockwave, because that is a very nice robot mode we're looking at up there. that looks really nice.
That's fair. See, I went for I was thinking Astro Train because I think all of his modes are solid.
Yeah,
like all of them are good. He's probably the most successful, or one of the most successful triple changes. I think the only thing that I didn't like about it was he was the incorrect color. Otherwise, Shockwave's like he's the most accurate. His transformations maybe not the best or the most interesting, which is maybe.
But he looks like
the advantage to Astro Train.
But he looks like in the cartoon and the comics.
That's true. Yeah,
and that's so rare for this period of the franchise.
And he can do a decent amount. Like he does have articulation. He can't really.
Well, yeah,
really balance.
No, but look at how they posed him. That's a menacing old pose.
You can't do that though in real life.
Yeah, I suppose
it doesn't work in real life.
Get a stand.
Yeah,
prop him up.
It's a nice thing to believe. Like, oh yeah, my Shockwave could do it. Nah, mate. No. At least not the ones. At least not mine with the joints I have on mine. That just doesn't work.
You know, that knee's going to be going in the back there, and he's going to be going over like a ton of bricks.
Yeah, I don't know why they had springs in his thighs. If that was must have been for how his legs transformed. Crikey. I imagine. But yeah, if there are cuts in his thighs, which you can kind of see in the image, where they've got springs or like bits of metal wrapped around. It's weird. Exel Hedge says official Feral Rex or Jinbao KO Feral Rex. Do you have the official one or the KO?
I have the complete official Feral Rex.
There you go, the official one.
All 6 members, including the
expensive
Catilla.
Oh yeah. And Orange says, I gotta go with Snarl, honestly. My first G1 Dinobot.
Hoo-yah.
It's not a bad one. Well, looking at the time, Orange, I think we're actually going to have to leave there. We went a lot longer than I thought. We'd still got like...
Sorry.
No, that's fine. It means that we can come back. We've got like loads to cover. Look at all these catalogs. Loads to cover.
Oh, my Lord.
So maybe we could do this when there's no news to talk about. Maybe we could do with Mike or other people.
I'd be game.
Yeah, cool.
Because I've enjoyed this. It's been great.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's good times to kind of go through. This is like we're still a long way out from technically a lot of the era stuff. Actually, it's like 2 slides. It's more like the Scramble City era, which is when, because that was the stuff that was mainly in the gold boxes where I kind of fell more into Transformers and obviously the 90s stuff with the Pretenders and the Action Masters. But I think we could go through some more of these in the future potentially. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Maybe I'll try and wangle some people on as well. Maybe I could get Thu on. That would be fun.
Ooh.
Talk with Thu about old school Transformers. I don't know. It might be like piss off Andy. I'd rather eat glass. Who knows? Who knows? People, if you have any questions for me or for Big Swing and D, throw them into the chat. We'll answer those lickety split. Where can people find you on the internet, Big Swing and D, if you want them to? If you don't need to say anything. You can tell them to piss off.
I'm fairly easy to find. I contribute semi-regularly to the Fluff and Hammer and to UKAnime.net. I'm the resident mech head. Otherwise, just look for David Kelly. It's for weird Welsh spelling. If you find a picture of cup associated with it, that's me. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I'm all over the place. I don't really blog or anything like that. I just creep around and post comments and talk to people and just like to see what people are enjoying.
All right.
And have a fun time. But yeah, if you want to drop me a line, feel free. I'm good. I like to chat to people. So yeah, that's me really.
Cool. Well, we got a message from Mr. White just to say that I'd like D to return for more of this. Which, if you read that quickly, could be very confusing.
Yes.
You say, what now? All right. Fair play. Well, you can find me on...
I was going to say, is this Stockholm Syndrome?
Well, with Mr. White, it could be. He's got a beautiful voice, though, Mr. White, so who knows? You can find me on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube as Decayed Andy, the rotten corpse of a human being. You can find us on the Moonbase 2 forums, Twitter, iTunes, Facebook, Libsyn, patreon.com/moonbase2, $2 each month if you want to support the show and all that kind of jazz. And I'm sure Mikey's got some stuff coming up soon for the Patreon, but I'm not sure. I have to see about that. We're on the ccbunker.weebly.com.net, whichever one it is. If you want to go and get the Moonbase 2 that way. We're also here on YouTube as Moonbase 2 Transformers Podcast. If you come and join us at 8 o'clock in the evening on a Sunday, you can join us in the chat and talk to us like these lovely people have been doing tonight, which we all thank you for, of course.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
I think that's it. Mr. White also says, and always appreciate the Flufferhammer stuff. So he appreciates your Flufferhammer images and conversation, I think he means.
Much appreciated, thank you.
Here's the thing. I think you pretty much run the watch-along nights on the Flufferhammer Discord, don't you? So you could promote that. When's that happen? How often does that happen?
It's the first Saturday of every month. Starts 7 p.m. in the Flufferhammer Discord. It's a random selection of between 1 and 2 movies from a very eclectic list.
Mm-hmm.
But we roll it randomly each month. This coming bank holiday weekend, I'm going to do something a bit special on the Saturday ahead of our normal monthly watch along. So I'm thinking I'm going to put on all 4 John Wick movies.
Oh wow, that's a lot of John Wick.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe starting about mid-afternoon, see how long we can make it through.
Have you got stuff sorted out for Halloween?
Not yet, but I'm open to suggestions for events like that. And doing something a little bit special if people want something.
Yeah, you should go for some ones that people might not have seen, like The Void.
Ooh,
The Void's fun.
Bad idea.
Yeah, maybe Audition as well from Japan.
Ooh.
Yeah. That's one you watch with your girlfriend, and then you cry, and then she leaves you, and then you go, oh, that was a bad call, actually.
Yeah, that's I've only ever watched Audition once.
Yeah, I mean, that's all you need to see, really. You see it once, you go, you know.
I'm not sure I can bring how to watch it again.
Audition's not one of those movies you to go, you know what I want is a good time tonight? I'll throw an Audition for a laugh, you know. Why not? Messages from Orange, Pretenders. Yeah, I've got the Pretenders. Oh, I had the Pretenders on screen. The 88 plus G1 Autobots, the G1 bots are my fave. We'll get there eventually, I'm sure, in time. 4 films. Wow, Big Swingin' Wick, says Mr. White. Oh, that's what you should call it, Big Swingin' Wick.
Ooh, that's a good idea. I like that.
That's solid. Well,
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to remember. What have we got for the first weekend of September, though? I think it's Dog Soldiers.
That's a good film. Solid British movie.
And Beastmaster.
Oh, Beastmaster. I've never seen Beastmaster. That's a classic fantasy. Oh, I tell you what you should do, purely for me, right? What you should do is you should get Mr. White to suggest you some like classic movies from like the 70s and back, like movies that I should have seen. Like I've never seen Casablanca before, stuff like that. And you should maybe run those, like the classic. Like here's one that I know some people haven't seen, but which is really good.
I have bought Casablanca more time. The only films I've bought more times than Casablanca are Star Wars, Blade Runner, and Lord of the Rings and Transformers a movie.
Well, Blade Runner's not fair because there's like 5,000 versions. There's a director's cut.
Yeah.
There's his sister's cut. There's the nephew's cut.
Yeah, but I mean, I've bought. Those are the only films I've bought more times than Casablanca.
Wow.
I own like 3 or 4 different editions of Casablanca.
I mean, 12 Angry Men would be a good one for people that haven't seen it. That's a great film. Love 12 Angry Men. Have you seen 12 Angry Men?
I'm not sure I.
Black and white.
I'm not sure I have.
It's about...
I know the film. This
you know
one
the
with
film. Okay.
I just haven't watched it.
Yeah,
ironically enough,
it's really interesting. I remember watching it, being I don't know, and then watching it with, oh wow, really good characters, really interesting bit of drama.
I like the idea of this now.
Yeah.
A pre-70s classics session.
Or you could do like the 70s one where you show like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, mainly because you can have Donald Sutherland with his amazing afro and mustache going.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the sound he makes, but that's the face. I did the face. That's a fun film. Silly though. Oh, you want a really dumb movie that I like that's really shit? The Faculty. There's a movie you can play. I love The Faculty, but it's not like if someone said that's not a good film, Andy, I'd be like, yeah, it's fun. It's really fun.
Actually, you know what we could do? All 3 Invasion of the Body Snatchers, because they're all set in the same universe.
Oh yeah, technically, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Well, thank you, Big Swing D, and thank you everybody for tuning into this slightly strange off-the-wall Moonbase 2 episode. Because there was no news this week, I checked. There was literally nothing of value. It was just like, hey, have you seen these images? Yes.
Have we talked about that new Optimus Prime they're doing based on the G1 toy?
The Missing Link one. Yeah, me and Mikey talked about that last week.
Ignore me then.
Yeah, the only thing we got were just more images of it. So it's like, yeah, it's got articulation, just like we've already talked about it.
Well, it's still for pre-order.
Yeah.
And
there you go. There's the news. You got it on pre-order.
And that Space Rover Prime.
Yeah, me and Mikey have definitely talked about that. We talked about that ages ago. It's mad. It's shocking how little news there was this week. I thought TFW was going to have some third-party news, but not this year. Disappointing, Mr. White. What's up with that? Fix that for next year for when Big Swing D comes by. And he starts slapping you saying, where's my news? And he's got to have stuff, son. That's the sound of the slaps. It's nothing any glued. But yes, thank you, everybody.
To be fair, if I do make it to TF Nation this year, or next year, or the year after, I will be hunting down Glaug and G-Works to see what non-F upgrades he's got to hand.
Oh, yeah.
Just give them to me.
I think they had a stall this year, or they were on a stall.
I think he normally does, yeah.
Yeah, easy as pie. Right. Again, thank you everybody for coming on by. See you next week. It might be a normal show next week. I suppose it depends on the news. But until then, we'll see you next time, everybody. Bye-bye, everybody.